Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce Ng. Joyce, the time has arrived. Our final 2024 Oscar picks.
Final, in quotes.
Final. We're recording this.
Also, we're both wearing flannel today. I don't know why.
I always wear flannel. This is my
I have a lot of flannel, but it's also it looks like the same shade too. The color pattern.
It does.
It's very
It has a
weird.
little pink in it, I think.
Yeah, mine has some light pink. It's like light pink and gray.
Yeah, mine is like
Yours is more green.
tan. It's actually like a tan. I'm bringing my arm closer to the camera.
Oh wow, yeah. If you're listening, you can't see this. So
if you're listening, just imagine it's like a tan flannel, and it looks great. We both look awesome. Joyce, we're recording this on Wednesday, so time to make some final tweaks, maybe.
you can make these tweaks up until the show, basically. So
a lot of these categories, though, are set in stone, I think, and a lot I'm still concerned with. We have 1,000 emails as well, which we'll read at the end, including many on the week's hot topics, including Oscar presenters and anonymous ballots. So if you're interested in just that and not our predictions, just skip to the end. But we're going to start, if you're following along, at the bottom, which is the shorts. Last in our predictions, first in our hearts? Or first in our predictions, last in our hearts?
they're always first in our predictions. Always.
Can't wait. All right. So we're starting with live action short choice. And already I'm like confused. But here are the nominees, and then we'll discuss. The nominees are The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, The After, Red, White, and Blue, Invincible, Night of Fortune. And right now, I'm sticking with The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar as the consensus pick here, though I don't really believe it's going to win.
I currently also have it. And I'm debating switching to red, white, and blue. What's your second?
Me too. I have that in second. And I really want to switch to red, white, and blue. I don't know. Do people like anytime we've talked about this, a lot of the people love it. And there's obviously a lot of West heads who are like big on this. And I know I've heard anecdotally at least that Netflix had great response to this short from Academy.
Are those people from Netflix?
Who can say, Joyce? Who can say what they are? But I've heard that anecdotally. That said, they also have The After, which I have not heard great things about and I think is fine, but is also a Netflix movie and has the Meghan Markle stamp of approval. Red, White, and Blue, though, is the kind of topical movie that I think the Academy likes.
And there's a twist, and it's about abortion.
Yes.
So hot topic, and there's a twist in the film, the short, and those are some of the things that Henry Sugar is lacking.
Yes.
And I feel like Henry, if it wins, I think it could just be like half default because it's like Wes, and also visibility because it's Netflix.
Yes.
But it doesn't feel like a typical winner for them.
Let me ask you this. Red, White, and Blue is 24 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar is over 40 minutes.
Yeah, and remember last year we said the same thing about the animal thing from Apple.
Yes.
Animated, yeah. But the boy
and the horse
whatever.
and the heron.
Yeah. That was long too.
Now that won.
Yes. And we were saying like, is it too long to win?
Then that was animated.
Yes.
Is it different in live action?
I don't like. I also think like Apple, like last year, that campaign, they were all in on that.
It was their big winner.
Yeah.
And Netflix is, I mean, again, anecdotally, like I said, they've said that they've had a lot of great responses to it. Mm-hmm. But I haven't seen a real big put. It's not like I've seen Wes Anderson like pounding the pavement for this.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and then you look at the past couple winners in this category. So last year was An Irish Goodbye. Before that was The Long Goodbye. Riz, of course, Oscar winner.
So no goodbyes here. So that makes it harder to predict.
I know, we can't go three-peat with a goodbye. Otherwise, I would have slotted that in right away. And then Two Distant Strangers 3 years ago.
Yeah.
The Neighbor's Window. Skin. So
I'm ready to put Red, White, and Blue in first.
I know, me too.
I'm going to do it. I'm doing it. You know what? If I get it wrong, I get it wrong. Everybody's going to predict Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. I've not been convinced of its strength the whole season. And I'm just going to not go with it here at the end.
I don't know. Should I do it?
If it won, it would be like the most obvious thing. And this is like a silly one where everybody gets the shorts wrong usually, or gets like 1 out of 3 or
I'm
2 out of
happy if I
3.
get two of them, right?
And like, I feel like this one, a lot of the normies are going to just put sugar because they've seen it or they know it's Wes Anderson. Let me ask you this: is Wes Anderson's name on the ballot?
No, it's the only people with names on the ballot are actors. Like directors don't even have their names on it.
And so, does that matter at all? I don't know. We said this
I,
months ago. I feel like, but I was like, is there really, in terms of like the narrative? Forget like it's like people do really like this movie. So that aside, I'm not saying like it's only about the narrative, but is there actually a push for the Academy to want to give Wes Anderson an Oscar?
I mean, I don't know. Like he's never won before. I think his stands want him to win, you know,
Yes.
and this is like a way for him to. I don't even think it's the same as when Riz won. You know, like it wasn't like, oh, we got to get Riz Ahmed an Oscar. I mean, like famous people, like actors, have won in the shorts before. You know, but I don't think it's the same as this, where it's like this overdue filmmaker
And I
that people
don't
want to have an
disagree.
Oscar. You know,
And I
so
guess when faced with something like, and we'll talk about this with the one of the things I think a lot of people have realized from the anonymous ballots is that it's not a meritocracy. It's about
awards
vibes.
are never a meritocracy, and I don't know how you can follow the Oscars, especially if you've been doing it for years and not have that register.
And it's a lot about vibes. And I don't know. I'm like, I think it's about what they want to say. It's also, these are categories, like you said, not everybody's going to vote. A lot of the people abstain. And so if the people who are voting here are actually watch these shorts or are inclined to vote like with their heart, I don't know. I'm just like, maybe it's not as, if every 10,000 member person, every member of the Academy was voting, I think maybe Henry Sugar would win, right? Because it's the most recognizable title. But since I know not everybody's going to vote for this category, maybe that makes a difference too. I don't know. I'm not gonna stick with it. It just feels like a red herring that it would win.
Well, also, like some of the blowback against it is that people feel like a big name filmmaker like him should not be in the shorts. You know, and it's not fair because like the shorts are for emerging filmmakers, right?
Right.
And it's not fair for someone so famous like him with the backing of Netflix and everything to infiltrate this category and like go off with an easy quote unquote Oscar. And we've seen some of that comments in some of the anonymous ballots too. It's like
Mhm.
West should not be here. This is not fair to young filmmakers.
And Nazrin Chaudhry is a director of Red, White, and Blue, who's mostly worked in TV. Jack Ryan, Fear the Walking Dead, shows like that. So like an up and coming filmmaker, basically.
Yeah. So I guess like it's like what you're saying, like how many people of the 10,000 are voting this category instead of abstaining, and how
Mhm.
many of those people who are voting feel that same way too, share that sentiment of like West should not be here.
And I just think I wonder. I think like it's a lot of these are like it's vibes, but it's also like what is it? Does it like hit you in the feels? And I think
I feel
one of
like
the
a lot of
stories
them would be, if they watch it, they would be taken aback by the twist in Red, White, and Blue.
I think so, and I think it would make them like it would. The feels would be good, and I think Henry Sugar is not as much of a feels thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
All
Am
right,
I gonna change too?
I'm doing it. I did it already. I'm done. I'm on the next category. Mentally, I'm gone. That one's done. I'll take an L if I do. I don't care.
Okay, I'll do it because I feel like I'm gonna have the consensus in the other two anyway.
Maybe. I guess we'll
So
see.
I mean, I don't even know the odds. I guess I
Well,
should.
we'll see next. Here. So you did Red, White, and Blue too. For documentary short choice, the nominees are the ABCs of Book Banning, The Last Repair Shop, Nine Eye and WIPO, The Barber of Little Rock, and Island in Between. The favorite in the odds is the ABCs of Book Banning, but I'm going The Last Repair Shop.
I am too.
Uh, I feel like ABCs of Book Banning has been the consensus for a while. I've seen a lot of people knock it as being like a PowerPoint presentation. Uh,
Yeah.
but I think it would be a fine winner, and obviously it's about a hot topic. But The Last Repair Shop has also like a strong pedigree with Ben Proudfoot and Chris Bowers. and people also really like it. And I just think it's gonna win. Plus, it's like based on like Los Angeles. It's like in Los Angeles. I feel like it's got the hometown vibe going.
Yeah, and it's like it feels like an actual like complete story, you know? I think there's like kind of I don't know if it's like fully cohesive because it's like are you focusing on the repair shop or like the kids or whatever, but I think it comes together at the end with the concert and everything and it's feel good, right?
Hmm.
So and yeah, ABC's I think it also kind of feels like like the kids in it, it doesn't feel I I feel bad saying this about kids, but it doesn't feel like as like authentic as the kids in um Glass Repair Shop.
Yes, I think that's also a
This is
common
like
knock.
no knock on the kids. This is
No,
just
but I think
it's
it's a
just a
common knock on the movie,
yeah.
right? That it feels a
Mhm.
little more manufactured maybe than Last Repair Shop.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Um
Ben
yeah.
Prout, I think won 2 years ago, right? 3 years ago in this
Yeah,
category.
for the Queen of Basketball.
And also another nominee. This also won the best short at the Critics' Choice Documentary Awards, which obviously is a big deal.
Yeah, and I actually have ABCs in third. I have Nana and Wapo
I
in
I do
second.
as well. I
That that one is not, you know, political or a hot topic, but it's like cute and nice.
I
Yeah.
actually I had Nine Nine Wipo in first after the Oscars luncheon, but then as I went and looked at these, I was like, I actually think Last Repair Shop's going to win. No disrespect to any of the nominees.
Yeah, they're both I mean, I think Nine Nine Wapo is also the shortest one here. It's only like 17 minutes. It's on Disney Plus now,
Yeah.
if people want to watch it. So, and Last Repair is still on Disney Plus too, isn't it? I
Let
think
me
so.
see.
That
It's
one is
actually
like 40
streaming on
minutes.
YouTube, I think.
Oh yeah. I know some of them were like free on YouTube during voting, but they might
Yeah.
have been taken off since then or locked up. Yeah, I think like I can see Nine Nine Wapo winning just because it's like, oh, the grandmas are adorable. And I guess it is about something like deep because it's like mortality 'cause everything. But I think um yeah, I think like Last Repair Shop might edge it out. So
And then the last short category, Joyce, as we go 0 for 3, maybe based on certainly based on the odds, we're already in our in arrears. Animated short. The nominees are Letter to a Pig, The War is Over, inspired by the music of John and Yoko, 95 Senses, Pachyderme, and Our Uniform. And again, I don't know about this one either. I have War is Over winning, and 95 Cents is in second, and I'm almost ready to move that in first, but I feel like War is Over is the most basic, obvious pick here.
yeah, I have War is Over. Is that in first in the odds or is it still Letter to a Pig?
Letter to a Pig is first in the odds still, but
So
everything I
we don't have the favorite in any of these three.
know. But if you've paid attention to like the anonymous ballots or even people who have like reported on these or just watched them, it seems like not a lot of people love War's Over, and everybody's like it's gonna win because it's like the most obvious
That's
uh
also like a really good
pick.
way to predict these categories too.
Mhm.
Is like the one you like the least, basically. And um I also have 95 senses in second. I can see it winning. But I just like I went to war because you know one of my ways of picking these winners too is by title, as I've mentioned before. So I feel like this title will jump out
People
at
love
you.
John Lennon.
Yeah. And then
So there you
so
go.
it's just like the most interesting title here, I
And
feel.
it's a brand name.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
IP.
it's IP. Even if it's not IP, it's IP.
So, and then Letter to a Pig, I think it's a little if they watch it, I feel like it's uh a little too like out there, like a little abstract maybe.
I
So,
I think I think if it's just animators, maybe it would win.
yeah, but like in terms of story,
Right.
not so much maybe with everyone or
Right. Yeah.
not
War
everyone.
is Over is like just right down the middle.
Yeah, and if they watch it, it's like, you know, the needle drops and everything. So they even have like featurettes of the making of this short.
Yeah, I think it's gonna win. So those are the shorts. So if you go with us, we went against the odds on all three. We have the same winners, and we could go 0 for 3, or we could go 3 for 3, or 1 for 3, or 2 for 3.
I will always take 2 for 3.
International film, Joyce. This one is a lot less fraught. The nominees are The Zone of Interest, Society of the Snow, The Teacher's Lounge, Perfect Days, and Io Capitano, and I have The Zone of Interest.
Yes. So
What is there to say?
nothing, absolutely nothing.
Congratulations, Jonathan Glazer.
Well, not him. Congratulations to the UK.
Congratulations, Jonathan Glazer, getting to accept on behalf of the UK. Best
So yeah,
documentary, Joyce. I'm just skipping ahead. We're done. I don't need to talk about that
there's
anymore.
nothing to say.
It's a good movie, and we know it's going to win. It would have been interesting to see if Anatomy of Fall was
Mhm.
here. I think there would have been a lot more debate.
Yeah,
And no disrespect to the other nominees, but I think Zone of Interest has it locked up. For documentary choice, the nominees are 20 Days in Marupol, Four Daughters, Eternal Memory, Bobby Wine, The People's President, and To Kill a Tiger, and I have 20 Days in Marupol winning.
ditto.
Similarly, seems like the overwhelming favorite here. Can you sense an upset at all or no?
No, because like even at like the guilds and stuff, it's been losing to Still, which is not here. So it's like it doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah, without like Still and without American Symphony here, I
Yeah,
think
like
this feels
the
like,
basic celeb biodocs.
yeah.
So
Which I mean, you know what? There was a lot of pushback on the documentary branch for like missing out on those. But honestly, the idea that they are forcing the main votership to actually watch more substantive movies than the celebrity profiles is
yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah, like I would hope like if the voters had not watched these before phase two, that they check these out instead of just watching a Michael J. Fox doc. No
Like
offense to it, but
if
it's like
Still was here, I think it would have won because people would have just been
because
like, I
everyone is
saw
voting
that
for
and I'm
it.
just
Yeah,
gonna vote for it. Right. Animated feature. This one may be a little contentious. We'll see. Nominees are Across the Spider-Verse, Boy and the Heron, Elemental, Nimona, and Robot Dreams. And I have Across Spider-Man, Across the Spider-Verse. Amazing
amazing
Spider-Verse.
Spider-Man.
Amazing Spider-Verse. I have Spider-Verse winning.
Um, I think I'm gonna stick with Spidey too.
Boy and the Heron definitely could win, obviously.
Yes,
One
it's put up
BAFTA.
quite a fight.
Yes.
It won BAFTA and the Globe. So, but Spidey has won, it dominated the Annies and it won PGA, and also to Eddie, where Boy was not nominated. So I think it's clear that Boy has more international support and Spidey has domestic
Yes.
support. And I feel like that will just kind of carry it through in the end.
I I agree with that. And I also thought yes and this. I also thought that the actors are the biggest branch. And I understand there was a lot of like really famous people in The Boy and the Heron, but I feel like
For the English
for
dub.
the English dub. But I mean, like I feel like they're just gonna go like actors are maybe gonna break towards Spider Verse more than Boy and the Heron, and like that'll help it overcome the international support.
Yeah, and I just feel like they don't most of them don't really think too much about this category, and we know they, sometimes they just like pick what it was their kids' favorite film,
Yeah,
and most of their kids probably watch Spider-Verse.
yeah,
So,
yep.
um yeah, I think this could go either way, but I think I'm just gonna stick with Spidey here.
I feel like we're gonna talk about BAFTA a lot this whole show, and I'm like, not to be too inconsistent. I do think it matters in some places, or it shows strength in some places, but I think I could like logically talk my way around the Boy and the Heron BAFTA win over Spider Verse, where I think in the main broad Academy, Spider Verse still has the edge.
Yeah. And yeah, like I mean, I guess you could say its PGA win is obvious, you know, um, but like PGA also has a good record with the Oscar too. So,
Yeah.
and two of its winners were not even nominated for the Oscar, right?
Mhm.
Like Tintin and Lego movie. So that's meaningless. But um, yeah, I think it's just a little bit bigger, and then it feels more of like a default. But boy winning would be great. I feel so.
Yeah. We'll talk about this, I think, throughout. The other thing is when you get down to this time of the year, like everybody's tired of all these movies. So they're just like hating on everything. And I feel like I was never from the jump, not the biggest fan of Spider-Verse, but I feel like everyone was. And now I think it's like in vogue to be like, it's not any good or it was boring or whatever. And like, I'm like, I actually don't believe that people actually think that.
I think it also matters that it did not win everything, because I feel like if it had been sweeping, then everyone would just be like, "Yeah, of course, it was
Right.
always winning, fine." But since Boy has shown to be competitive, like people want that to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That's true.
so then there's this like urge to take down the Juggernaut or
Right.
Juggernaut, I
Right.
guess, minor Juggernaut and Spidey.
For best visual effects, Joyce, this is a category I think a lot of people are going to go different ways on. And so far, we've agreed on everything. And it seems like maybe we won't on this one, but we'll find out. The nominees are Godzilla Minus One, The Creator, Guardians 3, Napoleon, and Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. And I have Godzilla Minus One winning.
I don't know what to do here. I currently have The Creator. So,
The Creator's in second. Wonderful visual effects.
and yeah, it actually won at the Guild,
Mm-hmm.
unlike Napoleon or Godzilla. Godzilla was only nominated for one the character, and it lost to Guardians.
Yes.
And Napoleon was nominated in supporting, and it lost to Guild fave Naiad.
Yes.
So the creator was the only one to win something there, and I don't know.
So a lot of people have thrown their hands up for this one. I think if Poor Things was here, we'd all have Poor Things and would
Yes.
win. If Oppenheimer was here, we'd all have Oppenheimer and it
Oh,
would
of
win.
course.
So now we're left with this group. This is the group they've chosen, and we have to figure out who's going to win. I've seen a
And then
lot of
next year
people.
we already know that Dune is winning,
Dune is going
so
to win next year, so this
great.
is like a free year.
Last year we knew Avatar was winning.
I've seen people be like, "Oh, they've actually like the idea that they've watched the VFX reels because a lot of people are unfamiliar with some of
The
these
Bake
movies.
Off.
They've watched the Bake Off because the creator, no disrespect, got to be one of the least seen movies here. I would say, right? If you think about it, I don't see a lot of people talking about it really or considering it.
I
Certainly this category.
I mean, I guess like if you do your due diligence, you could just go seek out footage, right? Like
Yeah,
you don't, I guess like if you don't want to watch all these movies, let's say you did not watch any of these movies and you're voting, like maybe you're just gonna, Google and like find the reels and stuff and just
and so what I've seen is if you watch the reels, I think you get a real sense of how the Godzilla was like done on like a lower budget than I think a lot of people are expecting. I also think there's like obviously a novelty to Godzilla winning here, right? In terms of like people love Godzilla and it's very name brand. Not that Mission Impossible and Guardians aren't, and certainly Napoleon is like
I mean,
OG
this is
IP.
this is the first Godzilla movie nominated, so
And I think the story is cool. That it got in here is cool. We were saying like, I mean, like RRR was never going to win any like anyway, but like, like it's that kind of like film Twittery story made good. I don't know. I just
I
think it's going to
think,
win.
I mean, like RR did win song, but I think there was a lot more clear passion from the industry for RR, you
Yes.
know.
I
And I think like a lot of the passion for Godzilla is from fans, and I don't know how much of that is in the industry. I mean, it could be a lot. Like I literally don't know because
right.
we don't really have a lot of evidence of it. Whereas like last year with RR, they were campaigning everywhere, and
Right.
like Steven Spielberg was standing it.
Well, he's standing
So
Godzilla too, Joyce.
and but it's like the campaign is different. You love a campaign.
There is
So,
not a lot of campaign for any of these, I would say though. That's the other thing. Like I'm like, is there really a campaign for the creator?
but I think that's like that has more obvious effects too, which I think they value more so than like practical effects.
Right. I I mean, any of these could win. Mission Impossible is in last place. I can honestly see that winning. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it won.
I, I mean, like if Napoleon had just won the Guild, I would have kept Napoleon in first because
Yeah,
that's still like the most like prestige adjacent film.
right. That makes
Um,
sense, but it didn't win,
it
and it
did, it
seems
lost
like
to Naiad,
nobody seems to care about that movie at all.
and
So,
it has, and like Napoleon also has the most nominations of all of these films here.
yeah.
So
I
Godzilla only has this nomination. Creator has two.
yes. I,
So
it's
I don't know.
possible the creator wins. Again, really, really cool visual effects. And while the movie was not a big deal when Gareth Edwards was like going around, they talked a lot about how it looks, the whole narrative of like the
Yeah, like
movie.
that's what I like. I feel like if you again, like if you haven't seen any of these movies and you're just like Googling to see what they look like, I think you can see that has the most effects. And sometimes they just vote on most.
Right. And it was like the big narrative was like, look how great this movie looks when it doesn't cost a lot of money. The creator
Exactly.
did not cost a lot either. So
So I don't know. It's like
I'll stick with
I don't
Godzilla.
feel great about any of these. So
I'm gonna stick with Godzilla also because I think it's like you said, first time Godzilla movie can win. Like it's like it feels like the kind of thing that if you were voting and you weren't sure, and like you said, like who knows, like it could be any of these. Maybe that like added like novelty of it is like pushes you to vote for it.
yeah, I don't know. I would love to see the votes for this category.
I'd love to see how many people abstain.
I don't think people would abstain from visual effects because I feel like that's something that a lot of people think they can tell, like
Yeah,
lay people
yeah, that's
think
true.
they can
Well, we
tell.
can. You have eyes.
So yeah, I like they just don't know the process behind it. That's all. And then um yeah, I don't know because the so I think the last one to win this with only as its only nomination was the Jungle Book, but that was very heavy effects.
Heavy effects.
So that's not the same as Godzilla.
Right.
And then like since then, Blade Runner, First Man, 1917, Tenet, Dune, and Avatar.
All of those are the kind of like the grist for the creator, I guess, or like a part of the reason why you could pick the creator then and have it make sense is like the visual effects in the creator are very similar to those past winners where it's like a lot of it's not practical but it looks real, right?
Mhm.
And it's like it's like not as much obvious CGI, you know what I mean? Like that kind of thing as we've seen, like you know what I mean? Like the creator looks like it was like
Yeah.
Dune or or Blade Runner. It's in that same style. And it's like a Denis Villeneuve style, Joyce, we could call it. Or Christopher Nolan style with Tenet.
Um,
Ex Machina, right? Like that's another
but
one.
I mean, the Ex Machina kind of broke this category because that was a huge upset.
It was.
So
I'm
because
looking here, like
that beat
Interstellar.
Interstellar was before, which makes sense. So Ex Machina beat Fury Road, The Martian, The Revenant, and Star Wars.
Now I probably would have had Star Wars that year. I don't remember. Or
Um,
maybe Fury Road.
yeah, I think like most people would have gone for one of the Best Picture nominees. So like Fury Road, Revenant, or
Right.
Martian. Martian probably. I don't know.
So if you're looking at past winners, then creator probably wins. You know what I mean? Like if you think about if you're listing the past winners, the creator feels more likely than Godzilla -1.
Yeah. So
But I'll go with the vibes. I'm going vibes. I'm going Godzilla.
maybe the MCU can finally win this. It'll be Guardians.
That would be funny. It would actually be deserved. I feel like they could have done a
Yeah.
better, maybe a more hardcore campaign because like literally a main character in the movie is not real. It's a visual effect for the entire
I mean,
the
they won the Guild over Godzilla for Rocket.
and
Rocket is still Bradley Cooper's best work
and
he's
I feel
ever done
like
in his year.
Yes, it was. And I feel like a lot of people are not really like Guardians could definitely win this. I would not be surprised. It's definitely the most widely seen of this group.
Yeah, but yeah, I like they've just never the MCU has never won here. Like Spider-Man 2 won here
Right. Wouldn't it
19
be
years ago.
funny if it won here though? I mean, if there was ever a year it was going to actually win, this could be it.
And it would be fitting too, because Guardians has the most effects, really, because they're
Mhm.
space. You know, it was cruelly robbed of a makeup nomination. It didn't even make the short list. So
Yeah. This might be one I change. And I could end up going to Guardians, not even the creator. I don't know. But I'll stick with Godzilla for now. For Best Sound Choice, the nominees are Oppenheimer, The Zone of Interest, Maestro, Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning, Part 1, and The Creator, and I have Oppenheimer winning.
I do too.
So I think this category came a little in flux when like Zone of Interest won, right, at BAFTA, but I don't feel like the main academy is going to go for it.
Yeah, it that feels like one of like the BAFTA only picks, that doesn't translate to the Oscars that we have every year, seemingly. Um, so
I just,
I
yeah.
and then also like over the weekend we had the remaining guilds,
Hmm.
and the Zone of Interest lost the Sound Editors Guild for foreign film to Society of the Snow.
Yes. Uh,
So I'm also like, if it couldn't beat that there, and like Oppie won the main category, or they won 2 awards, I think.
I think so.
So I'm like, if it can't beat Society there in just foreign film, can it beat Oppie at the Oscars?
I,
You know?
I think no. And I mean, like, you just have to look to last year, right? Like, Top Gun lost sound at
Yeah.
BAFTA and then won here at the
Mhm.
Oscars. It just is the biggest, most obvious winner. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're going to have Oppenheimer winning at least with this. I'm having it winning 8, not to spoil
Yeah.
what we're doing. So I'm like, it is the biggest movie. Like, why would it not win here? I feel like. And I think the sound is legitimately impressive
Yeah.
because I think people remember how this. I think they remember the Trinity test, like getting blown back in their seats when
They
he brings the sound.
remember the Trinity test. They remember the gymnasium scene.
It's like that's like incredible stuff, and like
Oh,
no disrespect to Zone of Interest, which also has really great sound work. I just think like Oppenheimer is like it's
yeah.
no
Again, it would
slouch.
be more interesting if we still had the two sound categories. I mean, I could easily just see Oppie winning both of them too, if that were the case. But definitely a better chance for Zone to win a category if there were two.
Yeah.
So
For best song choice, nominees are Barbie, What Was I Made For? Barbie, I'm Just Ken, American Symphony, It Never Went Away, Flamin' Hot, The Fire Inside, and Killers of the Flower Moon, Wajaze, A Song for My People. I have Barbie, What Was I Made For? Two-time Oscar winner Billie Eilish,
and Phineas,
and Phineas.
yeah. So I don't know. I
Congrats to Billie Eilish.
Barbie's only win of the night,
Yes.
probably, maybe.
Yes. I think
So
so.
I mean, for sure, definitely this one. It won't
Uh
go home empty-handed
Nothing else to say.
unless something shocking happens here.
It'd be pretty crazy. I'm just Ken in second. Um
Yeah, I don't think that will win.
no. I'm very happy. I'm very curious to see the Gosling performance in this though.
What do you think they're gonna do?
I don't know. I mean, in the past when we've had like big popular songs, they've done like I'm thinking like even like last year, like Lady Gaga did that like stripped down acoustic thing, which was amazing for Top Gun, Hold My Hand. I'm like, did they do something like that for Barbie? I don't think they're gonna do like a big dance number, do you?
I mean, they could. They could round up all the Kens.
Do you think they'll try to get other men from the audience who are not nominated involved? Like, will Ben Affleck and Matt Damon be doing I'm Just Ken?
No. Um, I I don't even think they'll go into the audience. Or maybe like dancers would go in the audience.
It feels
But
like a great opportunity to have dancers in the audience, Joyce. Come on. A lot
yeah,
of
but like I
Kens
don't
up
think
the
Ryan would
aisles.
go into the audience.
No, Ryan's gonna be sitting on a stool, I think.
I like Yeah, I can see him just doing just kind of like an acoustic version of it. That they should totally get Wolfgang. there to do it,
Would be
and
great.
Slash. So
Very
uh,
excited for this.
yeah, I don't know what they should perform. They should either open with it. I don't think they'll open with it because I feel like Jimmy will probably have like some pre-tape sketched or something.
Maybe,
But this should be the last song performed.
definitely. And like I always said, they should do in the room voting.
I've always said that like Diane Warren would be an Oscar winner now if they
This
did Till
is
It Happens to You, or they voted for song after Gaga sang Till It Happens to You.
this is me at the Oscars. The one Oscars I ever went to, was fortunate enough to go. Viola Davis in the crowd, fucking standing up and going nuts for it. I was like, this would have won. This is me would have won an Oscar if
Listen,
they didn't vote it.
Viola is always up for a concert. So
That was the greatest. I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. It was such a great performance on the show, and it should have won an Oscar if they voted live.
what was that Bond song that they lost to? The
The
Sam Smith.
Sam Smith one.
I don't even know what it's called.
No one does. No
Never heard
disrespect.
it, obviously. So
Ugh. Best score, Joyce. Nominees are Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, Poor Things, Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny, and American Fiction. And I have Oppenheimer.
same.
Congrats to Ludwig Göransson.
Another one. So
Deservedly so.
yeah, I don't know, nothing to say.
Production design. This one is still pretty tight. If you listen to that guy who does the math picks, who's that guy? Ben? What's his name?
Oh yeah, THR, yeah.
He's still on this Barbie train, but I don't think we are. The nominees are Poor Things, Barbie, Oppenheimer, Flower Moon, and Napoleon. I have Poor Things winning.
I do too. I can see Barbie winning, but I feel like it will have a better chance in costumes than production design.
I've been thinking of something you said multiple times throughout the year, or last year and then this year, which is you kind of always ask me, do you think it matters that Barbie is recreating things people knew, right? Like it's not as original as something like Poor Things. And I kind of always discounted that, or just like was like, not really. But then again, I hazard to even suggest 20 anonymous ballots matter at all. But a lot of the anonymous ballots mentioned that specifically, where it was like, I really love the Barbie designs, but Poor Things was wildly original. I'd never seen anything like it.
Has someone done a tally of all the anonymous ballots? Like who's in the lead in this
I
category?
actually think maybe they did. Let me see.
Just gonna Google
Yeah,
anonymous
I saw this somewhere. Hang on. Let's see.
ballots tally. I mean, some don't even do all 23 categories. So,
No. Let me
um,
see.
but yeah, I think that's something because they already have the template, right? Because of the toys for Barbie.
Hmm.
So they just had to, I mean, I know they use like miniatures when they're designing, but they just had to like recreate the toys mostly. And yeah, I think that like some people might use that to not vote for it. And I don't think it's the same as recreating a historical place like Alamos,
Right.
because that was
I,
real.
I think on the ballots, I'm trying to look. It looks like Barbie actually has a slight edge. So maybe I don't know what I'm talking
Um, but Poor Things won the guild, or like both guilds, because there's a set deck guild and ADG, and BAFTA.
It feels like it's won all the stuff it needed to win. I think people clinging to the Black Panther comp that you were the
I mean,
first
I
person,
love the Black Panther
you were
comp.
the first person to even
I
suggest
started it.
it.
I'm gonna
You
take
did.
credit for that because I
You
started
should.
this in like, I don't know, September or something.
You did. You were immediately on that train as the Black Panther comp. Uh, I think it's a different year, obviously. I think this is a much more competitive category. Poor Things is like a much bigger movie. And like I think it's gonna win. Now last year I had flopped because I had Elvis winning all this shit. And now this year I have Poor Things winning all this stuff. So
I don't even know. Did I have Elvis too? I don't remember what
you
I had.
didn't, because I got when over I had Elvis winning 4 Oscars and lost all 4 categories.
What did I have? What did I have last year? I don't remember. I don't know. But it was like All Quiet won last
Yes.
year. Um, yeah, but I guess like we couldn't really tell that Elvis was dying because it did well at BAFTA, but I guess in hindsight, it's like they love Baz over there.
Right.
So, um, and like I guess I mean, Poor Things also did relatively well at BAFTA. Like it didn't win Best British Film, but it still won, a handful of awards. So I guess you could also say like it could underperform here or at the Oscars too and go over 11.
So it
Eh,
could. I mean, I also, do you think it's possible? Like, I'm assuming we're going to do the same thing when we get to costumes, maybe. But would it behoove, like, and I think most people are going to just pair these for regardless, right? Like,
I
they're going
think
to
that's the
say,
safest thing to do instead of trying to split them and pick one for each and then get both wrong. Like at
that's what,
least if you pick one movie for
and yeah,
both,
you
you
get
can get
one.
at least one right, hopefully. You could get both wrong if they go for the other movie both.
So
But
that's what I'm wondering. And I'm like, I guess they could split and maybe Barbie wins production design or costumes and Poor Things wins the other. It doesn't necessarily have to be both. Um, and I do think the Barbie production design is like amazing. But I do wonder, this is like really getting in the weeds, and I can't imagine the voters vote like this based on the anonymous ballots we've seen, certainly. But I'm like, a lot of Barbie is just in an office, and like, Poor Things is a little more creative in that aspect, I
so
guess.
I get yeah, so like the all the Barbie Land stuff is really fun, right?
Amazing.
And but that's also like partially based on existing toys.
Right.
Um, like the whole ambulance setup, the doctor thing,
Incredible. They built that
so
shit. That's like
yeah.
real practical effect,
Yeah,
basically.
but then the real world sets, it's just like LA.
It's
Like,
like LA and like a Toyota Volt commercial or whatever it is,
yeah, it's a
Chevy
car
Volt.
commercial.
It's just is like, I don't know.
And then I
So,
guess like, we know Barbie has been wilting
well, that's the other
things
thing,
too.
right?
Like we
So,
know that for sure.
yeah, I'm gonna stick with Poor Things, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I
Uh,
don't know if this is the same as like the favorite winning this and costumes at BAFTA and then losing both to Black Panther at the Oscars.
Let me ask you this: is it possible everyone, because everyone seemingly has either Poor Things or Barbie? They're like basically tied in the odds, right? Uh, is it possible we're all underestimating Oppenheimer and it just wins?
I have Oppie in second, not Barbie.
So, what if it just wins?
I mean, it could. I don't know. It also won the Guild and Period because they have their genre categories.
I I
So,
really think it could win. I think if it wins, it'll just be like, holy
I mean,
shit, they
listen, we
won
know it's
Oppenheimer.
more liked than Barbie at this point.
Yes,
So,
Barbie is ahead. They're tied in the odds, but Barbie has more people predicting, at least among everyone. And then I think for experts, it's probably weighted more towards Poor Things. Let me look.
I mean, so Barbie won Critics' Choice, but they loved Barbie. They gave it 18 nominations, and like 90% of its wins were not live.
Critics' Choice is a good, in terms of like history, has been a
Yeah.
somewhat reliable precursor, but I also think it's because there's been obvious winners and they're just kind of like trying to predict the Oscar wins. And I think when the Critics' Choice voting was happening, Barbie was still a strong bet to win this.
Yeah, because the voting happened that first week of January, right
It
after the Globes.
right. And if Greta had been nominated director, maybe you would say the same. You know what I mean? Like it's like that they were under it. I think that Critics' Choice wins was operating under the assumption that Barbie would get Margot and Greta in as nominees. And that
They
didn't
they got
happen.
them on the stage, right, to accept Best Comedy.
Yes.
Yeah.
In terms of experts, 13 for Barbie, 12 for Poor Things, and one for Oppenheimer.
Oh,
That's pretty good. For makeup and hair, Joyce. Here are the nominees: Maestro, Poor Things, Oppenheimer, Society of the Snow, and Golda. And I'm going back and forth on this one. And right now I'm on Poor Things over Maestro.
I don't know what to do here either.
I
I
kind of
I
want to
still have
go.
Poor Things.
I kind of want to go back to Maestro.
I do too because it won two guilds over Poor Things. So Poor Things beat it at BAFTA, but Maestro beat it head to head in two categories at the guild. And it is like more of what they go for in at the Oscars in this
Now,
category.
certainly here are the last. We did this, I think, a couple weeks ago, but here are the last run of winners. The Whale, Eyes of Tammy Faye, Ma Rainey, Bombshell, Vice, Darkest Hour, Suicide Squad, Mad
I
Max,
haven't.
Grand Budapest, Dallas Buyers Club, Les Mis, Iron Lady. Uh, I kind of going to go back to Maestro. We've been like, I don't think, clearly don't think the movie is widely embraced, and certainly some of those anonymous ballots have borne this out, right? Like people don't like
Some
it.
people haven't even watched it.
One of the guys said, I just didn't even. I heard it was bad. I didn't even watch it. Could have been a gal too, I guess, guy or gal, who knows?
Um,
It-
yeah, I think, I mean, this is it. It's always been the front runner here. It's just that the movie's weak,
yeah,
and uh, Poor Things does have great makeup, and obviously back in the fall, a lot of people thought that this would be another acting and makeup win pairing again
right.
for Bradley.
Yes.
Um, so and then I was wondering too, like the the makeup wins for okay, so like last year, it's obviously Brendan, the whale, and then before that, Tammy Faye, Jessica, and then Ma Rainey, Viola. Not so much on Chadwick, and then Bombshell, obviously Charlize, Vice for Christian Bale, Darkest Hour, Gary Oldman. Like these are all the leads that are getting to
Yes.
prosthetics and the heavy
Yes.
makeup put on them. And in Poor Things, it's not Emma, it's Willem, who's
Thought
not
the
even
exact same
nominated.
thing. I thought the exact same thing. I was like, the Willem stuff is great.
It is,
And I
it's
guess
amazing makeup.
you could comp that to like Suicide Squad, right? Because it's like a character makeup more than like a lead makeup. But yeah, all of these are leads. Like all of these are
And they were all
actors,
nominated and some won.
and they're all like these main actors who are transformed and playing a real person, which I think is obviously like a big plus in this category, right? Based on the last like 6 years, 7 years. So and Kazuhiro has already won 2 Oscars, and I know it's like the names aren't on the ballots, but I think he's like a brand name.
Yeah, people know he did this.
And
So
so the other thing is, no one is talking about this stupid controversy from the fall.
no, that it lasted for like 36 hours in August.
Nobody cares.
No.
And the best part of the movie, even from the minute one to me, was the makeup. I was like, oh shit, it's great. He looks like really good. It like looks great, I think, on screen.
Yeah, like I never know I mean, like I didn't notice a nose at all really,
No.
like even in the trailer. Like yeah, it's prominent, like he's wearing a prosthetic, but it's not distracting, which is
No.
what a lot of people were acting like it
This
is just based off the trailer. But when you watch the movie, like I wasn't distracted by his nose.
and like we were talking about, like with visual effects, and not that they go hand in hand or anything like that. If you look at the past history of visual effects, the things that look real, right, or that are easy to be like, this looks like when I watch
Like we
Dune.
we we know what like Leonard Bernstein looked like, and we have
Exactly
a comp.
right. I just like it feels like the comp, it looks like a real person. Willem Dafoe looks like a monster, like it's like monster movie makeup, basically, right? You know what I mean? Like it's not like it just is a different kind of makeup to me. Obviously, it's not like monster movie, and like he's whatever it is, but I just know what Lenny Bernstein looks like.
Yeah, so
Bernstein.
I think I might go back
I did it. I'm going
Maestro.
back.
I don't know if I can give Poor Things. Like, I don't know how many wins I am going to predict for Poor Things.
This feels like to me last year I did Elvis, and I did it for makeup because I had Austin winning, and that was so stupid because clearly the
But we
whale
know
was going to
Bradley's not
win.
winning in this case.
I know, but I was like it was like such an obvious miss because like
They went for the fat suit.
yeah, but also Elvis, it's honestly very similar because Elvis, you had Austin Butler,
It's
not a lot of
Tom.
makeup, and
Yeah.
Tom was like under literally a fat suit as well, and they didn't really get like it would have won more for Tom than for Austin. And here I'm like, it would be the same thing. Like it's Willem, what is the focus basically, and I don't think that's enough.
Yeah.
So I'm going
Um,
Maestro, much to the consternation I think of a lot of people who don't like Maestro.
But like this is the category it deserves to win.
Yes,
So
I think it will.
it won't get blanked. It won't go 0 for 7.
And Netflix won't get blanked either because I had it missing short, where I think people are expecting it to win. Film editing, Joyce. This one not as fraught. Oppenheimer, Anatomy of a Fall, Killers of the Flower Moon, Poor Things, and The Holdovers. And I have Oppenheimer winning.
Same.
Cannot wait. I'm so excited for it to win. This is like one of my most beloved wins of the night. It's like
I watched it again last Thursday. My friend and we watched it together. We hit play at the same time on Peacock.
nice.
This is my third time watching it. So we started at like 8:30, obviously over by like 11:30, and it was like again fastest 3 hours of my life.
Incredible movie. Just the best. I've seen a lot of a pushback on that too. Again, I love the Oscars in March, and like we've talked about, historically they're always going to be in March or even April in the past, right? It's very rare that it's been in February. I think maybe
It
19
moved to
times.
February literally 20 years ago that it was on leap day on February 29th, 2004.
I think maybe 19 times. It hasn't, like, of the 96 years, like 75 have been in March or April, basically, in history. Something
Yeah,
like
like
that.
the early ones were like in November before they like fixed the calendar and everything.
And the only reason I wanted to switch or would want it to even think about switching is because we're too online and we've lost context, and you get a lot of morons being like, Oppenheimer sucks. I'm tired of this. And I can't do
Yeah,
it
because
anymore.
like people are tired of it winning, especially if it's not a movie they like,
Yeah. It
right?
just feels like, and this goes not just for Oppenheimer, all these movies, I feel like have now, people are just tired of these movies. They want them to go away.
Yeah, and you know what? Just go offline, go touch grass. You could stay off of Twitter for a little bit. It's fine. Most people in the real world are not talking about this, are not thinking about this 24/7. Talk about something else. And like don't think about Oppenheimer or Poor
Anyway,
Things or Flower
congrats,
Moon, anything.
congrats to Jennifer Lame on her editing win. Costume design choice. We kind of spoiled this, but the nominees are Barbie, Poor Things, Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Napoleon, and I have Poor Things winning.
I do too.
Barbie's still first in the odds.
I can see Barbie winning. Um, but again, it's also the same kind of thing. It's like some of the clothes are iconic clothes for the dolls, you know?
Another, in terms of experts, Barbie edged Poor Things by 2 votes, but it's winning more handily among the whole collective.
So in this case, the costume guild, they put them in separate categories.
Yes.
They put Poor Things in period. So it won there, and then Barbie won fantasy. So they have guild wins, and then Poor Things won BAFTA, and Barbie won Critics' Choice.
Now, if it's up to me, Barbie would win this at the Oscars. I think the costumes are amazing. And I kind of maybe would give Poor Things the edge in production design, personally. Even though I love the production design of Barbie, I just can't get past the fact that like 20 minutes of movies in an office.
How much do you think it matters that, or like voters even realize that the costumes in Poor Things are tracking Bella's evolution?
Minimal. I don't think people realize that at all. Sorry. Based on the, just again, very small sample size, but based on the anonymous ballots, I don't think we're considering the movies that deeply.
No, and one of them also left Poor Things after 40 minutes, and that person was also a costume designer, I believe. Right?
Uh, I'm going to stick with Poor Things in both. I'm going to hope for 1 out of 2. And I actually would like to see them split because I think that's what it deserves.
So, but Barbie here and Poor Things
If
production.
it was me, I would say Barbie here and Poor Things in production design.
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep Poor Things, I think.
Yeah, I'm not going to split it.
It's too hard to split.
Because if you split and then you get them both wrong, I'd rather get them both wrong if Poor Things just lost both than splitting and getting them both
Yeah.
wrong.
I mean, last year I got this wrong too because Black Panther won, and I had
Yes.
Elvis. I remember that.
Yes.
So, But Black Panther also wasn't nominated for production design last year.
Right.
Um,
Which was silly because the production design of Black Panther 2 is actually amazing. But what are you going to do? Hannah Beachler did a great job.
um, yeah, I think it's just between those two. So what if Oppie wins too? Suits and hats.
I don't think Obby's going to win this one. In fact, I think Flower Moon could maybe cop a better shot.
Um, I guess I think it's like it will have to really overcompensate for the lack of passion
Yeah.
for it.
I mean, I don't think it's going to win. I'm just saying,
No.
like, cinematography, Joyce. Another Oppie win. The nominees are Oppenheimer, Flower Moon, Poor Things, Maestro, and El Conde, and I have Oppie.
Same.
Hoyte von
Congrats to
Hoytema.
Hoyte. So
Can't wait. Love it. Great cinematographer. Love him so much. Very excited for this win. Original screenplay, Joyce. Nominees are Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Past Lives, Maestro, May, December, and I have Anatomy of a Fall.
same.
Would be a colossal upset at this point, I think, if Holdovers won. Would you agree?
I don't know if it'll be colossal, but because I do think like if you're not following this closely, you might expect holdovers to win. So I guess to those folks maybe, but I mean, Anatomy has won BAFTA and the Globe.
Yeah.
So, and the holdovers wasn't even nominated at the Globes.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think this will be Anatomy's win of the night.
Same.
For Justine and Arthur.
And
And yeah, I don't know what else to
what else
say.
is there to say? I think it's great. I'm excited for Anatomy to win, even though I know people don't like that too. People don't like a lot of these movies. Loved it. Adapted screenplay: American Fiction, Oppenheimer, Barbie, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. And I have American Fiction winning, Joyce.
I do too, as you know, and I'm annoyed that everyone has it now. And it's BAFTA's fault.
BAFTA going American Fiction. It also won the USC Scripter. I think there's still an outside shot Oppenheimer could win if they were really crazy for it, but it just feels like obvious that this is where American Fiction is going to win. And that's it.
Yeah. I mean, 3 weeks ago, it was in third place in the odds, and I was feeling great. And now it's in first.
A lot of times with these, we talk about, and I think historically, like screenplay is maybe a consolation prize, right? To the movie that's not going to win Best Picture. And this year, I think you could not find a better example of that than American Fiction and Anatomy of Fall, both of which I think are probably 2-3 in Best Picture, I would argue.
I think they're top 5.
They're definitely top 5.
So yeah, like I mean, we have that often too. Like it's like even with, like Promising Young Woman and The Father,
Yep.
like you knew that those were not winning
No.
Best Picture. But this was like screenplay was the perfect spot to award both of them. And obviously The Father also won Best Actor, but like Get Out.
Yep. Yeah. Lost in
And
Translation, right? LA
yeah.
Confidential. You could go down the list. Like all of these great movies that were not going to win Best Picture obviously won here.
Yeah. And then like American Fiction has just been like it's just been winning everything basically. And I think if WGA had been before the Oscars, like it usually is, it would won that too.
Yes.
Um, so I think this is also a movie that people have been really underestimating this whole season until it actually like even after it won Critics' Choice for screenplay.
Mhm.
Um, and then it overperformed in nominations, both at SAG and the Oscars. Um, and it still wasn't first in this category, like at the start of phase 2, which is why I felt so great. I was like, I'm putting
Mhm.
it first in screenplay.
Mhm.
And then BAFTA had to ruin it. Um, I do think Oppie can win if they're just, on an Oppie high And like that is a great adaptation of a very dense book,
Yeah.
right? And then I guess obviously the X factor is Barbie being in here.
I just no, it's not gonna go. It's not it didn't that's it's over. The ship
Are
is
people still predicting Barbie to win?
in terms of experts, let me see. Experts, there are 4 experts predicting Barbie, 15 for American Fiction, and 7 for Oppenheimer. And then overall, let me look. Barbie is well behind American Fiction and Oppenheimer, but it's in third. There's still 1,000 people predicting it. It's not, it's like 3,000, 2,000, 1,000, basically.
Hope dicting.
I, I think this is a perfect, I feel like the, my sense is there's a coming backlash for American Fiction. Like all these movies, I think people are now like, I don't like this movie either. And it's like obvious and like actually not good. I don't agree
Oh,
with all that.
I've seen a lot of that. A lot of people don't like the family stuff because it's like quote unquote boring. And I'm like, that's the whole point of the movie,
I,
of why that's part of it.
I've seen that. I've seen people say it's like the most valid criticism I've seen is that it's like tonally not, it doesn't land the tonal shifts, which I don't
Mhm.
agree with, but I could see at least that being an argument. I think some
Yeah.
people think the politics are wrong, either because it's like, I think people are pushing back on the idea that like the white audiences who are laughing at it are laughing at it, kind of, right? Like, people don't like that about it.
Yeah, and I've also seen criticism that it's like it's not like acerbic enough.
Yeah, that the politics are like from
Yeah.
like a different era. But I'm like, you know what's funny? This movie, and I also think it's like an age divide. I've no, like at least on Letterboxd, it feels like the people I follow who are 35 and up like it, and the people who are under 35 are like, actually no. Which I'm like, are you? That's interesting, but also like, are you like the satire? Is it making fun of you too much? I don't know.
Yeah, and I do think, I mean, I think part of it is also the marketing because it was so heavily focused on the book aspect of it. And like as we've always said, like that's not even like half of the movie, right? It's mostly a family drama, right?
Yeah,
And I feel like people are also aren't prepared for that. And like I think this is not just with this film, but just in general. Like I think it's hard for people to judge a movie by what it is, like what is put in front of them instead of what they want it to be.
I, I've seen a lot of people be like, I can't wait for Cord Jefferson's next movie. And I'm worried that, well, A, I think he's going to do like TV because he's got like at least a Just Cause,
He
I
comes
think
from
he's doing,
TV.
right?
He's an
It's
Emmy
fine.
winner for Watchmen.
And he loves TV. He does. He's talked
Yeah.
about that in a lot of interviews. But I get the sense that whenever he does his next movie, the backlash to it is going to be Saltburn-esque, where everyone liked Emerald Fennell and then she was a fucking asshole, right? For this one. And I feel like it's going to be similar when Cord does his next movie, even if it's better or even
I think
good.
it'll also depend on what it is because like if it's like something completely different, I think it'll be harder to kind of draw that parallel. I think it's easier to connect Saltburn and Promising Young Woman.
Maybe. But I think the thing that Cord seemingly likes is like, he's like, I mean, I don't know how old. I think he's probably right around my age, right? Let me look.
He's like 40.
I think he's like mid 40s, 42 he is, according to the internet. So he's a little younger than me, but he clearly grew up on like the movies that I liked as well. And I think
Yeah.
like that's the kind of
Also,
stuff he wants to
he used
make.
to work at Gawker.
Yeah, I know. But I think that's the kind of stuff he wants to make, right? Like like doing a TV adaptation of Just Cause, or was that what it's called? Right? Is that what it was? I'm just like, yes, this is good. This is a movie I watched.
Yeah. Yeah, I do agree. Like, I think there's kind of like a generational divide too, and then also just expectations
Hmm.
of what you want the movie to be and what it is. Like, I don't think it's the best movie like ever or anything, but I think it accomplishes what it set out to do
It's
in a very
also,
funny way.
yeah, it's also like, to me, it's like, I mean, and this is someone who, I love Oppenheimer. One of the most watchable movies nominated this year. It's just the
It's very
best,
watchable.
like
Yeah.
absolutely most watchable. It's just so
This
easy
is
to
also
watch.
a movie a lot of my friends like throughout the fall they wanted to see the most
Yes,
and
yes.
it didn't open until December, and that was also in limited. But they were like, "Have you seen American Fiction yet? Like, I really want to see it. Is it
It's great.
good?"
Yeah,
Yeah,
I went with all
and they all like it. They've seen it since, and they
my
like it.
real friends who are not
Yeah,
in.
real
They
people.
went.
These
We
real
all
people.
went, and we loved it. We saw it in the theater. It was great. Supporting
Um,
actor. These joys are going to be pretty easy. I'm going to say Robert Downey Jr., Gosling, Ruffalo, De Niro, Sterling K. Brown. Robert Downey Jr. winning his Oscar.
yeah, I don't know.
And then for supporting, I'm just going to jump to supporting actress. We could talk about these together, I guess, at the end. But the nominees are Devon Joy Randolph, Emily Blunt, Danielle Brooks, America Ferrara, Jodie Foster. And I have Devon Joy Randolph.
I don't know. What do you want to say?
Congratulations to these two stars on their Oscars. I'll be curious to see their speeches.
People will get mad at Davine again for having a piece of paper, but they won't mad at RDJ for also having a piece of paper.
That's true. They'll get mad if RDJ mentions Mel Gibson again. I
Mhm.
don't think he will, but like that'll obviously go over like a lead balloon. I think people I've seen again file under people are lost context because it's March. I've seen people like talking about like the RDJ win, like it's Jamie Lee Curtis
Oh
for
yeah, that tweet yesterday. Yeah.
what on what earth? Did I go to another Earth, Joyce? That
It's
was what I
just
was wondering.
his impending or like anyone's impending win is like Jamie Lee Curtis's if the tweeter does not like the performance.
Like again, love Jamie Lee
Like
Curtis.
you don't want that person to win, so it's like Jamie Lee Curtis.
No disrespect to Jamie Lee Curtis, who I love, and just not my favorite performance in Everything Everywhere. But the comparison between these two is completely just I can't even fathom
It's
it. I don't
like
understand.
completely insane and yeah, just like harebrained. And if anything, if you wanted to make a comp for RDJ, I would say his win, upcoming win, is actually most similar to Laura Dern's. Like,
Okay.
because like they're they were front runners from the beginning, right? Like people, I mean, the difference is that Oppenheimer opened in the summer,
Mm-hmm.
but and Marriage Story premiered at New York Film Festival in the fall. But people were predicting Laura Dern in the summer, right? Sight unseen. There was a trailer basically. And they were just front runners the whole time. And no one had an issue awarding them. They are, legacy, they're Nepo babies, right? They're past nominees. And they were having like career renaissances basically because Laura was coming off of Big Little Lies and everything, won an Emmy, and obviously RDJ done with the MCU, back to real movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and then like they won everything. Like people were fine with them winning everything. And like it's not the same as Jamie Lee Curtis, like not even discussing the performances because no one was talking about her in July, right? Like Everything Everywhere came out in March 2 years ago, and no one was talking about her as a potential even nominee for supporting actress. And then she just started campaigning in the fall. Like she declared on Graham Norton that she was going to campaign, right? Because she was
She
like, fuck it.
manifested it.
Yeah.
She
And
manifested
then
it.
at that point, also Michelle Williams left the category. So it was wide open.
Yes.
And then it was chaotic all the way through. She didn't win anything until SAG. Like they're not the same.
You mentioned, I think Laura Dern's a great comp. I thought of like Brad Pitt. I think of the George Clooney for
Mhm.
Syriana. I think like even Sandra Bullock for like Blindside. I'm just like
Yeah.
when a major star who people love is there and
Yeah.
like
And the
that's
performance
it.
is good. Like it doesn't, he's not even my favorite performance in this category, but it's good enough, right?
Yeah, like we've talked. I mean, I would personally, I think Gosling would be my choice. I love Downey in the movie. He is
Yeah, me
great,
too. Yeah.
but I think Gosling would be my pick. But it's like it's not an embarrassing win. He's a guy who everyone really likes and like has liked for years and a lot of different performances. And yeah, just like when the major famous actor or actress is in the category and the performance is good and the movie is obviously like steamrolling like this, like of course he's gonna win. Like no
Yeah, and
kidding.
like Laura didn't even have a steamroller. Like she was the
No.
only win for Marriage Story, but like everyone was just okay with it. It was like, we're gonna give you this Oscar.
And then
It was like her biggest competition was like maybe J-Lo because and then like they didn't care about Hustlers at all. I mean, like she lost the Globe and then that was like it's over. Yeah, I think it's the same thing at the Globes too, because people are like, Ryan could win the Globe, right?
Yeah.
And then RDJ won, and it's like it's over.
Yeah, there seems to be like a narrative again, like hindsight 2020, or what's the word? Just like people, I think there now it's been like, oh, of course he was gonna win. But like when we went into the televised awards, I don't think it was totally clear that he was gonna win until he won.
Yeah, I think like yeah, like once he won the Globe, I'm like, he's just gonna sweep.
Yeah. Like we talked about
Right.
this. I think there was more debate though when like if he lost the Globe, like I still think he would have won SAG and probably BAFTA, but like there would have been much more debate about it. But once he won the
Yeah.
Globe, it was like, oh, that's it. It's over. Like he's getting up there on stage. You're gonna let him give a speech. That's it. Goodbye.
Yeah. And like I think both he and Killian, like I've always felt like they could have lost precursors and like Killian did, and they could still win the Oscar.
Right.
Right. And but like, yeah, once like he got the Globe, I'm like, yeah, he's just gonna sweep. And then yeah, like same thing with Divine.
Exactly the same. Nobody
Yeah, and
stepping
like
up to
she
beat
was
her.
more dominant in the fall. Like RDJ didn't win a lot of like he didn't win any of the big three critics awards.
Right.
He won a lot of regionals, but Divine swept
Yep.
everything basically. So um yeah, I she just gonna add an Oscar.
Incredible run here. I mean, and just like again, I think you said like you said, I think supporting actor is still more, even though I think obviously Downey is obviously winning. I would still say it's more competitive than supporting actress is the biggest blowout I think in the whole year of these categories.
Yeah, and I think it's also, it's just like it's about luck. Like Yun said, like she got lucky because and I think both of them also kind of got lucky in a way. Like you need obviously the performance, but it's also about the film and the vibes and also your competition. And then um whether people care about your competition or not and like want to vote for them. And then your fave, the campaign, he shook someone's hand and got that person's vote
That
over
was
him.
Downey. We know that was great. I mean, with Divine, like we said last week or a couple weeks ago when we were talking about like if Lily Gladstone hadn't stayed in supporting actress, I actually still think this would be very tight. And I don't know who would have won going into Oscar night. I think you'd be like there would be a lot of
Lily would have been in a horse race in either category.
I think so. Because I think Divine was just so dominant that it's like it wouldn't have just been like immediate flip. You know what I mean? Like I think people think that maybe, but like I think she would have very much won a lot of shows and awards.
Yeah, I think like she lucked out in that, like performance notwithstanding, that there's just I think a lot of apathy towards a lot of these other performances. Like there's not a lot of passion or enough passion for any of these people to really pull it off. And then even like the people who missed, like Rachel McAdams, right, or Julianne Moore.
Who do you have in second for supporting actors? I assume we both have Gosling for actor.
Yes, I have Emily.
I have America. I
I
actually
have
think
America
she.
in fourth. I have Davine, Emily, Jodie, America, and Danielle.
I have America in second, and then Emily, and then Jodie in fourth, and then Danielle in fifth. Uh, let's go to Best Actor, Joyce. Nominees there are Cillian Murphy, Paul Giamatti, Bradley Cooper, Jeffrey Wright, and Coleman Domingo. And I have Cillian Murphy winning.
Obviously, never
The,
changed. So
the pundits have come dragging, kicked and screamed to Cillian Murphy, but they are here, and we welcome them. And it seems likely he will win.
I mean, he has both industry awards.
So, uh,
So yeah, I mean, I don't know what else is there to
we could,
say.
I guess we could circle back to this because we have a few emails that are just like post-mortem,
Oh, about this.
pre-postmortems about the punditry who is soft on Killian. And now
Well,
kind
what
of
where
like
what are your rankings? Because I have Killian, Paul, Jeffrey, Bradley, and Coleman.
have the exact same rankings. Jeffrey, I think would have. I've said this, I do believe this. I think Killian would have ended up winning, but I think if it was just Jeffrey or just Paul, I could make a much stronger case for one of them winning. But both of them together,
They're
both
like the
similar
same person.
profiles. It's the same profile, same kind of performance, same a lot of similarities. And I think that hurts that like similar how Oppenheimer doesn't have like a number two in Best Picture. Like Paul is certainly like I think the punditry's number two, but I think if you read the anonymous ballots, like Jeffrey did really well. I think a lot of people were very excited by his nomination, and
20 ballots from 10,000.
I know that's bullshit, but I'm like, I just think it's like he's been discounted a lot, like the movie has, in terms of
Mhm.
like, I think there's a lot of enthusiasm for Jeffrey Wright. And if it was just Jeffrey Wright here and Paul Giamatti was not here, I think you'd have a much more difficult time figuring out who would win. I still think
Yeah,
Killian would win, but
that's why, like like, Paul is not the only one, quote, unquote, "overdue" here, because, like, all 3 of them are, because it's, like, the first nomination for both Killian and Jeffrey, and Jeffrey has been at this the longest, I would say. Maybe, like, he and Paul started at the same time, but Jeffrey's definitely the oldest
yeah.
of 3 of them. He has half an EGOT already. He's done everything, like, every medium: theater, TV, film, and this is his first nomination. And yeah, like, it's like people are like, "Oh, finally, like, he's nominated."
Mhm.
Like, people know, like, Paul has been nominated before. He's also been snubbed before.
Yes.
Very famous snub, but he also been nominated before. And it's like, "Oh, this is Jeffrey Wright's first nomination." Just like, "Oh, it's finally Cillian Murphy's first nomination." Like, he's been doing good work for so long.
Yes. I almost think, yeah, I mean, we've talked about this a lot. I think in terms of the Paul narrative, the fact that he was nominated for Cinderella Man actually hurts the narrative because, like, if he was never nominated, it would have been a lot easier to be like, he was snubbed for Sideways. He's
Yeah.
back with this Alexander Payne movie. He's never been nominated. Isn't that amazing? Like, let's let him win. But like,
Let's let him win.
but like, no, he actually is already nominated. And yeah, like, I don't know. And we said like, and you can never bet against a real life figure in these categories. It feels like last year accepted with Elvis, but I'm like, it feels like it does give you an advantage a lot of times in Best Actor, and that's another plus for Killian. Plus, of these actors, even maybe more so than Bradley, he's got the biggest transformation, I would argue.
Yeah, and, like, I mean, he has, like, minimal makeup at the end, but it is a transformative performance, just not in your typical Oscar bait way.
Right. I mean,
Like,
he
he
doesn't
lost
sound like
28
him.
pounds.
He doesn't even. I mean, he lost a lot of weight. He doesn't sound anything like him in real life, obviously, right? So, like,
Oppenheimer was not Irish,
no.
so
And he does the voice great. I just think it's a great performance. Never once do you like not believe you're watching Oppenheimer.
yeah. And, yeah, so, and then, obviously with, like, RDJ in supporting, we have the every 10-year trend
Yes.
ending in 3, or, like, the film year ending in 3,
Mm-hmm.
of the same film winning both male acting categories. So Mystic River, Dallas Buyers Club, and Oppenheimer in the 21st century.
Very exciting. Now the moment many have probably been waiting for, Joyce. An hour and 20 minutes in. Best Actress. Most contentious above the line category of the night by far. Can go in a lot of different ways. The nominees are Lily Gladstone, Emma Stone, Sandra Hewler, excuse me. I don't do the doubles, the double thing, the umlauts.
Just imagine an either instead of
Yeah,
the umlauts.
Hewler, Carrie Mulligan, and Annette Bening. And Joyce, you'll be shocked to know I'm sticking with Lily Gladstone to win.
We already know you switched to her.
I switched to her last week, not right away, but I did switch, and I'm gonna go down with the ship on Lily.
I don't know what to do here because I have made no changes.
So you have
So
Emma.
I know, but I can be convinced to switch to Lily. Like,
This is
they're
the one. So far, am I right? We've not disagreed on a single category.
no, we have different visual effects.
Oh, visual effects. So that's the only other one we've disagreed on. And I might switch to the creator or Guardians by the end of this anyway. So who cares? Um,
I yeah, I again don't know what to do here.
so there's a lot of like we've talked about a lot of this, like a lot in terms of the movies. I think Poor Things remains more widely embraced than Flower Moon, despite the fact that Flower Moon has 10 nominations and Poor Things has 11 nominations. So clearly, like, if you're just looking at the nominations, it's like, of course, they love Killers of the Flower Moon. But I haven't really heard any single thing about Killers of the Flower Moon since the nominations, except for Lily, right? Like, that is literally the only thing.
Like, we know this. Like, she is the campaign.
She is the campaign, she is the movie. And I don't know if there's a lot of enthusiasm for the movie, but I do believe there is a lot of enthusiasm for her, both in terms of And I think it helps that it's a lot of different types of enthusiasm. I think there's certainly a lot of people, like we said at the beginning, you could just tell this is not a meritocracy, right? It's not about the performance. It's a lot about vibes. It's about narrative. It's about they shook my hand at a party. But I'm like, there is a lot of people who are very excited about the idea of Lily Gladstone making a historic victory here for the Oscar, right? I think there's also a lot of people who are excited about her performance, who think it's like a wonderful, introspective, different performance. And in terms of Emma, I think the narrative is not as strong, certainly. And while I think there is a lot of enthusiasm for Poor Things and her, it's maybe a different. I do wonder. There's a lot like you've seen, like people are like, oh, what was that one? I forget. Was it the Next Best Picture? There was a non-style that was like, it's not. It's a comedy
Oh, that
performance. It's
it's
not.
less challenging?
It's less.
Emma's performance is less challenging?
It's less challenging because it's like funny, right? I just think there's like a lot
But
of
which
like.
is also, before you continue, also hilarious because that person went on to vote for Ryan Gosling in a comedy because
Yes,
their reasoning for Emma's not being challenging was because it was comedic.
correct. Uh, that's another thing. None of the voters have really consistent thoughts, it seems. Um, I'm also like, while I think Poor Things is stronger than Flower Moon, I actually don't think that it is as strong as it could be. And I think that's another reason to me, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's definitely stronger than like Tar was last year, and Flower Moon is obviously not like everything everywhere, but I'm like, I just don't think the enthusiasm is as strong. I think it has more enthusiasm than Flower Moon, but it's not like an overwhelming amount of enthusiasm. And yeah, I just think like the industry, I'm just going to go with SAG, and like the actors obviously are behind Lily, and obviously international voters were more behind Emma, and that's like what we're going to suggest. And we talked about this too, like last week with Sandra there. I do think she would pull more votes from Emma than Lily as well. And so like in a close race, I'd imagine this is going to be like very, very tight. I would say Lily wins. That's my reasoning.
I've seen that a lot, that Sandra would siphon more votes from Emma, and I just don't really, I mean, like, it could be true, but I feel like that's being very reductive because I think what people are actually trying to say is like they might share a British or European base, but not like international is not just Europe or
No, I
England.
know.
So, um, and I mean, that you could also argue that Sandra and Lily's performances are more similar if you're going to argue for a vote split because they're both in like marital dramas, basically. And Emma is like the apple in the bag of oranges because it is the comedic performance,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So I think what I'm like trying to figure out is,
Mhm.
and we'll never know, but like, what was the vote distribution between Lily and Emma at SAG? Like, how much did she win by? Was it a blowout? Was it a very small margin? And like, I think it's probably somewhere in between. Like, I don't think it was a blowout.
Right.
Um, and then obviously not every 160 that like not everyone in SAG, 160,000 members are in the academy, and the actors branch is only like 1,000 plus something. It's the largest branch, but then there's also 9,000 other members. So like the vote difference between the two of them at SAG, how much can Emma make up at the Oscars with 10,000 people voting while also taking into account Sandra being present at the Oscars too?
So all of these are valid. The other thing I will say is we've seen this over and over again, and I would even argue last year as well. Not to comp, we've already gone over why the comp between Michelle and Kate is silly. But I will say, in terms of like the performances that make you cry, if that's like your level, right? Like Lily, I didn't cry at any of these, and I cry all the time.
I never cry, so I didn't cry at any of
But
these.
I think the odds are more present that people Lily's performance would make people cry, especially like her response to like her sister getting blown up in the house. I think that really affected a lot of people and certainly like drew out a lot of emotions. And while I think there are emotional moments, certainly in An Adam and Fall and Poor Things, those are not movies that necessarily you're going to cry at. And so even just that base thing, I think, while it's easy to imagine, like, I think you're right. Like the actors are that branch is the biggest, and like I think they're gonna go Lily overall. But I think even from other members of the Academy, like the more emotional performance is Lily, arguably, and I think that matters. So I think like if you think
I don't
like The
even know if it's like
Whale,
more emotional. I think she's just more sympathetic.
okay,
I mean, she's like the only sympathetic character in the movie, and then I would say she's probably the most sympathetic of these three. Like I think
probably
Bella Baxter is a very likable character,
yes,
but the movie is weird, you know? And
yeah,
then Sandra, the character in Anatomy, is complicated. And we know voters have issues with complicated women.
oh yeah. I mean, she's not gonna win. I don't think. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, no disrespect to
I
Sandra.
mean, I love her, but third.
Yeah, I, I just think like, and I'm like we've compared this to a lot of different races, and like how none of the comps are ideal. I was like, even last year, I was like, Brendan made people cry with The Whale. You know what I mean? Like it was like that was basically why he won over Austin, probably, and Colin. And I think the similar thing could be here too, like where it's like the you know that is gonna push Lily over the top, especially with like people who aren't actors and like that kind of thing, and like people still don't take comedy seriously. Maybe that's another demerit for Emma. I don't know. I'm just gonna if she won, I wouldn't be surprised. But I feel like I made the mistake last year of overrating Elvis and the enthusiasm for
The
it.
Elvis and Poor Things are not the same.
They're not the same, but I'm like, I think I'm overrating the enthusiasm for Poor Things, which I think is strong, but not as I think it's not overwhelmingly strong that Emma's gonna be carried along with the enthusiasm.
No, but I also I think she and Lily are the same in that they're like independent of their film. Like the passion for them is independent of the film. Like they could both just be their film's only wins of the night and it would make sense. Right. I mean, we know that for sure for Flower Moon.
Yeah.
But like Poor Things can lose other like Poor Things can pull a favorite, right? And it would still like make sense because I think performance wise is really like all about Emma, even though we have like I mean, like who has really talked about Mark in a while? Like I thought he was great, but like he's like that his candidacy never really took off
No.
in supporting actor. Like not even in like a Ryan way, even though like like RDJ is winning. But and like obviously he missed SAG. Um so I don't think like that is like reflective of their passion for Poor Things. I agree, like I don't think it's like I feel like there's probably more passion for Anatomy than Poor Things,
Yes.
and obviously Poor Things has more passion than Flower Moon.
Yes.
But I
I think
think
that
both
I do
ac
agree with that.
yeah, like but I think both actresses are separate from whatever their films are whatever's happening with their films. So, I might just switch to Lily because I agree with, like, everything you said, and, um, like, I mean, that's always been the thing with her too, right? Like, it's like even before it was clear that Flower Moon was not gonna be competitive in any other category, like, back in the fall, like, this was always, like, the narrative for her, and they were always fronting her, um, and like I said, after the Globes, like, I feel like we just saw our 4 acting winners, like Lily, Killian, Davine, and RDJ.
Yeah.
And I really thought after the Globes that she could sweep, and she didn't.
And she only didn't really the Critics' Choice Awards, like, and the BAFTA are the reason why I think you'd be more reticent to pick her, right? Like because
I
obviously
mean, the
she's
BAFTA miss makes more sense than the Critics' Choice. Like I like the argument about not predicting her using BAFTA makes more sense. Like because Critics' Choice is not industry. Like who cares?
right. So I think Critics' Choice we could just push aside. Doesn't mean anything. And then don't tell us this in the future when we talk about the Critics' Choice next year and are like, wow, this means something, but it doesn't really mean anything.
So like we know they just want to predict the Oscars.
And then BAFTA was a big miss, but like we talked about with the jury system, it's all focaccia, right? Like it doesn't make any sense. So it's
Well,
like
I mean, it did tell us that she was not top 3, which like is an issue, right?
it
Like
was an
I
issue,
think we all assumed she would be top 3.
we
I
don't know
certainly
how we
so.
just don't know how it would have happened. If she was nominated there, we don't know what would have happened. You can't know.
Yeah, and like she doesn't have that nomination on her resume, right? So yeah, it's like it sucks that the jury did not pick her. But then it's like if the jury had picked her, we would have never known she wasn't top 3. Like we would have just gone on thinking she was top 3.
Right. And
But this gave us information, them not picking her, that she wasn't top 3. So it's like the fact that she wasn't top 3, I don't think if the jury had picked her, she would have won because it told us they didn't really care for her performance that much when they were voting in December, you know?
yeah, that said, like we also like she's never, in theory, she's never lost to Emma at an industry award.
But then you could also say Emma,
As
like she was top 3. Like, I mean, we don't know, but like Emma was top 3, right? Like she actually got the nomination,
she did, and
right? It's
seemingly was
like
top three.
Lily couldn't even get the nomination. Like she wasn't even runner up to Emma.
Right. Though maybe if they were
So
voting, but if maybe she was there, she would have. You know what I mean? Like it's like we never know. The lack of a nomination there is really tough. But and that was why I was like, oh shit, this is bad. But then winning SAG, I think, was obviously like a huge shot in the arm, and it's hard to deny that the enthusiasm remains there for her and her performance.
yeah, like the SAG I've always said was the easiest and hardest for her to win, like hardest in terms of her type of performance, but easiest because they love a narrative.
Right.
So, um,
So you're gonna switch or no? You got days to figure.
I I don't know what to do. I feel like everyone has switched to
A
her,
lot of people react to Lily. I think.
like immediately after
I
SAG.
think the SAG was like, well, I think because so if you're a Lily stan
I mean,
up
like,
there,
yeah, like you're on a high right now.
if you were Lily Stan, you're waving the pom poms. You were going into SAG a little crestfallen, and then
Oh
you
yeah.
were like, "Thank God I won." And
I
now,
mean, I saw the tweets after she won, so
but I think if you were on the fence of this category, which I think a lot of people were, including
like
probably
me, yeah.
me, also like the SAG win pushed it over the top for me to go to Lily because I was just like, if Emma would have won SAG, obviously we'd be like,
Oh yeah,
Emma's
it's over.
winning, right? Like it's over. But the fact is, she didn't, and so I think that opens the door for Lily to win for all the reasons we've talked about. So if Emma won, I would not be surprised. I'm praying honestly that she doesn't because the discourse would be insufferable. But
It already is like,
it's
and
already insufferable, but at least it would end. And if Emma Stone won for this over Lily Gladstone, it would not be a great moment on Twitter.com.
no, but then it'll just die after like 36 hours. So,
So
but there'll be a lot of bad takes too.
oh, it would be.
And like no context, of course. Um, I'll switch to Lily, but part of me also wants Emma to win, just so everyone would shut up about BAFTA going over 8 last year. Because I feel like that's also a huge part of people's I think a lot of people want Lily to win, and like also in other categories too, they want someone else to win. But I think people are kind of using its goose egg last year as a reason not to go with BAFTA,
Right.
right? And
That's
it's like, oh,
silly.
look, they suck at predicting the Oscars. Again, award shows don't exist to predict the Oscars. They
Right.
exist for the members to pick their favorites.
Right.
And those were their favorites last year. This year, their favorite was Emma Stone and Best Actress, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, like at most, I think it would go 7 for 8 above the line this year.
I think seems likely.
Or not at most, or like at least. So
At
it could
least.
go 8 for 8 if
If
Emma
Emma
does
wins,
it.
it
So
goes 8
like
for
part
8.
of me just the petty side of me wants Emma to win so people would shut up. So BAFTA would go from 0 for 8 to 8 for 8.
Would be great.
Yeah.
Uh Best director and best picture a lot less fraught. We could go through these quick. Nolan, Lanthimos, Glazer, Trier, and Scorsese are the nominees. And when Steven Spielberg presumably announces the best director winner, it'll be Christopher Nolan, Joyce.
I
Bravo.
also yeah, nothing to say. But I when they announced the last slate of presenters yesterday and like Steven Spielberg was part of it, I saw a lot of tweets being like, "Oh, Spielberg will present Best Picture." I'm like, he's nominated for Best Picture
They don't. They
for
don't know he's the
Maestro.
nominee. They don't know
He's
he's
not
not.
going to present a category in which he's nominated.
Will be cool. I think that's a great handoff. Steven Spielberg to Christopher Nolan. That's what he deserves. So
And it's like their path to their first Oscar wins are the same.
yeah. This is
So
a Steven Soderbergh putting best actor last moment, but I think this one will pay off.
this is more like when they got Spielberg,
Yes.
Coppola, and
Yes.
Lucas for Marty for The
Yes.
Departed.
Yes, it is.
So, but like less like I mean they were obviously friends, but this it's more like, blockbuster director, been overlooked by the Oscars previously, and they make their like huge Oscar film that's gonna dominate. And like this is his Schindler's List, Oppenheimer.
I
So
think that's it.
yeah.
And then for Best Picture, Joyce, one last time for the nominees: Oppenheimer, Holdovers, Poor Things, Anatomy of a Fall, Killers of the Flower Moon, Barbie, American Fiction, The Zone of Interest, Maestro, and Past Lives. And I have Oppenheimer winning.
I don't know. What
What do you have in second still? Anatomy?
I don't what should I put in second?
I have
Currently
Anatomy.
I so yeah, but I don't know. So you know what I think they should do? They should obviously announce Best Picture, give it to Oppie, and then they should tell us what was second, because I would love to know what was second.
I think we've talked about this in a previous show. I want them to do the elimination of the Best Picture elimination, like Hunger Games,
Throughout the show.
throughout the show. So like open
Number
the
10.
show, Kimmel monologue bit, Downey and Divine Joy Randolph win, and then bring out Past Lives and do a little segment on that and be like, and it didn't win Best Picture, but congratulations to Celine Song and the team from Past Lives.
I have Past Lives in ninth. What is your ranking?
Well, I'm glad you asked. This is not personal preference. This is what I think the order is. If it was my personal preference, it'd be slightly different. I have Oppenheimer, then I have Anatomy of a Fall, American Fiction in third, Poor Things, The Holdovers, The Zone of Interest in sixth, Barbie in seventh, Flower Moon in eighth, Maestro in ninth, and Past Lives in 10th.
So we have the same top 8, and I have Past Lives in ninth and Maestro in 10th.
I put Maestro ahead of Past Lives because I think the one it'll win makeup. And so it's like I think that maybe edges it ahead of Past Lives.
I mean, I don't think that matters. I think it's more. I think there's more passion for Past Lives,
Yeah, probably true.
and like as a movie than for Maestro. And again, I think like the makeup is separate.
But I also think the hate on Maestro is overrated in terms of the Academy. That
Oh
one,
yeah, I mean, we always knew that it was like the industry would like it a little bit more than the regular people. But I mean, you also dropped Maestro for a hot minute in December
I
when
did.
everyone was nuking it online. So for
Well,
the color purple
because I had the color, because the color promo made like $20 on
in
$20
just
million
one day
on
because
Christmas
it bought
Day,
out theaters
and
and
then
then
was a
it
huge
dropped
flop
off a cliff.
thereafter, and no one's talked about it since. You can watch it right now on HBO Max though, or just Max, I guess it's called. So Joyce, that's it. So if you went to Lily Gladstone, we are lockstep in 22 of 23 categories.
And then you're gonna switch to the creator.
I think I'm actually going to switch to Guardians and visual effects because I'm not sure.
No gets no glory.
What the hell? I just am like, I don't believe people care about the creator. No disrespect to the movie. And I think the reasons for Godzilla to win are cool, but also I could see it losing. And Guardians, they had a whole character who was a cartoon. So why wouldn't he win?
Part of me feels like I should do Napoleon because I did have it for a while and then I lost to Naiad.
Let me ask you this: if Naiad was here, would it win?
After having won the supporting. I mean, maybe. I would actually love for it to win because that'd be great. Because I think it's been undeservedly dragged. Like, it's not, people act like it is a steaming pile of shit, and it's really not that bad. It's like totally competent.
It was probably the 11th movie in terms of Best Picture.
I mean, it's done really well at the guilds.
I'm pretty sure it was number 11. We'll never know, but I'm pretty sure it's number 11.
Like, it's a totally fine movie, and it's just, it's like the movie version of Bradley Cooper. Everyone just loves to roast it. So
Joyce, we have dozens of emails. We're on almost 2 hours right now. Not yet. Like an hour and 40 minutes probably. So we're gonna keep going. Like Kramer with the car on empty.
Like I'm assuming the shelf life of these are for today and not post Oscars.
We got to do them.
So
I'm not going to do all of them. If you've emailed us over the last few days.
How many of them cover topics we already discussed?
Well, we'll read them, and then if we've discussed them, we'll say we discussed it. But I just want to, we're going to start with Jake, Columbus, Ohio. This is more of a thinker than like an actual thing. Hi, Joyce and Chris. I've been listening to your videos forever. I love you both. You remind me of my best friend and myself, but I'm the Joyce in the friendship, and she is the Chris. Haha. I wanted to ask something a little more fun since you've been getting a lot of the same questions. If you could go back in time and have the best director nominees, let's include Greta Gerwig too, direct one of the best picture nominees that isn't their own, like Christopher Nolan directs Killers of the Flower Moon, which would you pick and why? Love you guys. Keep up the content. I can't get enough. That's from Jake in Columbus, Ohio.
Wow, Jake. My doppelganger, I
I
guess.
guess so. Let's
So
just
we're
take
doing it like for the
one
same year.
this year, one
Okay.
director to direct one of the best picture nominees that wasn't their own.
Okay. So I would love to see a Christopher Nolan Poor Things.
Okay. I want to see Bradley Cooper Anatomy of a Fall. I want Bradley Cooper to do like a really watchable movie. Like,
Did you listen to Smart List this week?
no.
So uh in the beginning they do their, shooting the shit. Right. And it appears they recorded this the day of Oscar nominations, so July
Okay.
23rd, or like at most the day after. And they like Will Arnett was like, "Oh, our guy Bradley just got 7 nominations for his film Maestro." And Sean Hayes was like, "Oh, really?" Like, so it was like news to him. And Jason Bateman is like, "But not for director." So they were very aggrieved that he was not nominated for Best Director. And then Jason goes on to say that Maestro was the best film of the last decade.
Wow.
And they were all saying like how they were blown away. It was so great. And then Jason says like, I hope he takes solace in the fact that uh between this snub and the snub for A Star Is Born, that for his next one, like they'll finally give it to him.
That's the
So
movie
this
he's
is
going to
this is in
do.
the beginning of the podcast. So everyone, you don't even have to listen to the whole thing because the guest is Josh Brolin. This is not part of the Josh Brolin segment. This is in the first like 10 minutes when they're just talking
It,
amongst themselves.
it's
Yeah.
funny because it's the Will Arnett movie that he's going to do next.
Yeah, well, that's why Will was like, yeah, me too. So,
Speaking of Bradley Joyce, this one's from Nancy, who emailed us at slugfest@goldderby.com. I think she's emailed before. I'm not sure if I've ever gotten to read one of hers, but hi, Joyce and Chris. I discovered your show online this year, and I have to say that it's very informative and engaging compared to everyone else.
oh wow.
Thanks, Nance.
That's like a backhanded compliment.
Not to us, to everybody else.
I know, yeah. Well, that's
Yeah.
what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Bradley Cooper's Oscar campaign for Maestro? For me, it appears to be a disaster because of the viral headlines and sound bites, such as his shade towards Cillian Murphy in his Variety and Actors on Actors interview, and the cringy clip of him being emotional over Leonard Bernstein in the CBS interview with the Bernstein children. Is it possible that those factors hurt his chances to win the Oscar? Also, his reactions of him losing to Cillian during award season were hilarious, particularly at the Golden Globes and SAG Awards. It's no surprise that those moments went viral on social media. That's from Nancy.
Uh, I I don't think those things affected his chances at all. I think they're very much online things. I think there's just not a lot of passion for Maestro. It's just very divisive. And like, we've always said it doesn't seem like even people who like the movie, it's not anyone's number one, right?
Right.
So I think,
Mashed potatoes, Joyce.
yeah, our Thanksgiving meal. So like with Bradley, I think he's just like, I love Bradley Cooper. Since Wet Hot American Summer, since Alias. But I think he's just like too earnest for the internet. He's
I
like
think
very much like a classic like theater kid, right? Like he loves what he does and he's just very sincere and genuine about it, and that doesn't read well online. And then a lot of things get taken out of context, like that the actors on actors thing that Nancy referenced, that went viral like when it dropped in December, and a lot of people did think like he was dissing Cillian because Cillian had 6 months to prep for Oppenheimer, and Bradley was saying that he prepped for 6 years for Maestro. And I don't think he was dragging Cillian at all. I don't even think he knows Cillian took 6 months to prep for Oppenheimer. I think this is just something he was saying.
Yeah.
And like Bradley Cooper is not online to like read all this stuff, but I understand people making that connection because like everyone online is like too into weeds about this stuff, and they do they follow this stuff more so than the actual contenders in the race do.
It's
So,
like, yeah, it's like, it reminds me of in a movie Fever Pitch, Joyce. A
mhm.
great
A
scene.
classic.
Love
Yeah.
it. I still love it. There's a great scene where like Jimmy Fallon is sitting at the bar, I think, and he's like all crestfallen about the Red Sox, and they cut to like Jason Varitek and Johnny Damon having dinner, like they don't give a shit. And the
Yeah.
idea being they do care, but it's like they're not as involved. They don't care as much as the
Yeah,
fans.
like the people who are like I said, like it's like people have a parasocial relationship to
Yes.
Oscar season. So like the fans and the followers care, the outsiders care more about it than the people the concerning parties do. Like I think like I'm sure Bradley Cooper wants an Oscar, but I don't think this is affecting him as much as people would like to believe it's affecting him. And then that the CBS clip, like that interview was from like December and it just went viral again because someone put it on TikTok, right?
Yeah.
That's it. Like I
We
watched that interview when it aired in December.
we've
So,
talked about this too offline or on text about the context, the comments now. It's just like it's a pile-on season. Like everything he
mhm.
says is being ripped out of context. His comments about parenthood and fatherhood and all this
Completely,
crazy.
completely out of context. Yeah.
And he's at the point now where he's become like you said, man, I love that guy. I would love him to win an Oscar. I was rewatched Silver Linings Playbook this year, and I know he was never going to beat Daniel Day-Lewis, but I'm like, he was so great in that movie, and I think another year maybe he would have won against different competition. And I do think he should have won for Star is Born, obviously. That goes without saying. But I'm like, yeah, anything he says now, he's been branded a villain online, and so
Yeah.
everything he says will be taken in bad faith and out of context and mocked. And I think it'll turn back because like we saw that it turns back with like Anne Hathaway.
Mhm.
It did
Yeah,
never
he's
turn
going through
back.
his Anne Hathaway phase right now.
Yeah, and I think he'll end up winning eventually soon. I mean, like it's like Matt Bellany cannot like is all over him too. You know what I mean? Like all these people are just like piling on, and I'm like he'll win eventually, but I don't feel like he's not going to lose this year because of his campaign. He's going to lose because
Right.
Maestro is not the movie that people liked.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
And I I I don't know. Yeah, like even like his loser reactions at award shows, like it's taken off context.
I think so. I'm like,
So it's like
Carrie Mulligan's been probably,
her
I
robot
mean,
clap.
yeah. Carrie
So
Mulligan's was hilarious because like when Lily won SAG, she was if you watch her reaction, she was like, "Oh wow, this is interesting finally." Like cuz she's been
yeah,
so
because she
bored
was
with
like
it.
bored.
She was so bored with it the
Like
whole
Emma
time.
was so excited,
Because
jumped out
Emma
of her
keeps
seat.
winning, and like this, I'll give you another example again. And Emma hasn't really taken villain status yet, though. I mean, a lot of Lily stands
I
certainly
think it
do,
helps because like they're friends and they've publicly talked about being
and
friends.
and
So
Lily has publicly. But at the same time, just imagine if Bradley we gave that reaction to
oh
Killian,
yeah, they'll be like
he would
he's so
be
fake.
sent to Alcatraz. I think is
Yeah.
Alcatraz still run? He would be sent away. He would just sent to prison for that
Yeah. Just be like,
response.
he's such a phony. Look at him. Now
Yes.
he's trying to act happy for
Now,
Killian.
people
Yeah.
did say that about Emma too, but not as much. I think it would have
Yeah.
been like national, like multiple outlets doing. Look at Bradley Cooper over. What a
Yeah,
phony!
there's nothing he can do that will win over the internet at this
Not
point.
right
It just
now.
that
He's
like
got
he
to
needs
take
to
the
just like
L.
go away, like disappear. And like he does disappear for a while,
He could
and
do
then
like Jennifer Lawrence. I mean, all this happens to a lot of people like, and then like
yeah, I guess it's like good like
usually
equal
women.
opportunity. It's not just to actresses.
Yeah,
Like it's
usually
also to
women.
an actor.
Yeah, it's
So
rare that it's rare that happens to an actor.
I mean like I do feel bad that like, the internet hates him, but I also know this doesn't affect him in his real life.
No.
So like I don't know
Um,
him, but I'm just like he's like he doesn't care about this. So
Speaking of Maestro, here's another one from Maestro. A lot of emails. This one's about the makeup and hair category from another longtime fan, Gina, who I emailed us before at slugfest at goldderby.com. Gina writes, "Hi, Joyce and Chris. Hope you're both doing well. I don't know if it's just me, but the more I think about it, the more I am not really certain about Maestro winning makeup and hair. People are making comparisons to Vice, but they sort of fall flat for me for a number of reasons. Number one, that was the year of only 3 nominees instead of 5, and I feel like the favorite, which missed the Oscar nomination, unlike Poor Things, would probably have made it in that year in an expanded category. Yes, there are years where this also falls flat in the expanded era, but in some cases, there's also added context, like Elvis losing to The Whale due to Fraser's winning narrative. Number 2, Maestro hasn't won a single televised award this season. Emphasis on televised, which excludes the makeup and hair wins. Vice was at least winning things at Critics' Choice, Golden Globes, and BAFTA before it got the eventual Oscar win. I feel like if you're gonna cement yourself as a winner of at least one category of the Oscars, shouldn't you have a main precursor somewhere to back it up? And related to the last point, had Barbie not won makeup and hair at Critics' Choice, I could see a world where either Maestro or Poor Things would win. But since Poor Things at least had Emma winning at actress there, wouldn't one argue that the film would have also had a stronger case to take makeup and hair too? Would love to hear your thoughts. Have a safe and wonderful day. It's from Gina.
Oh, thanks, Gina. You too. Um,
A lot
yeah,
of good points there.
I just like it didn't like Maestro didn't win a televised award, but it didn't win the Guild
Well, that's what you're saying.
directly. Like,
Emphasis on televised. Yeah.
yeah. But then I'm just like, I mean, I know they're televised, but I didn't watch Critics' Choice or BAFTA.
No. Yeah. I don't know. I think all those reasons are right, but I just like we went through it. I just am hard pressed to think Poor Things would win here. I do think Maestro will still win.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if Poor Things won, obviously. Like it
Right.
has uh the BAFTA and I again like what we talked about, like I think Maestro is more of what they historically go for
I
in the
do think that's
category
yeah.
at the Oscars
Yeah.
for the lead character's makeup.
Yeah.
Like maybe I would probably feel more confident if Willem's makeup were on Emma.
If Emma had the makeup, I think she would win Best Actress and win makeup. But it's a different movie then. So there you go. This one's from Rachel Joyce. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Love you guys. Your banter always cracks me up. I'm a Rachel, and we don't claim the other Rachel who emailed. LOL. Also, I saw Dune Part 2 and it was brilliant. I saw it at a fan first event and immediately bought my tickets to see 3 more times. Absolutely loved it.
Wow.
Austin and Timmy were fantastic. Austin was creepy. Just love the show. Just wanted you to know that other Rachels are cooler. Joyce, if you're a first time viewer and you're wondering what the hell this is about, a couple weeks ago, we had a emailer named Rachel who said we diss Austin Butler. Not true. And many people have come to our
Never
defense,
dissed. Never dissed.
including this Rachel. So thank you,
But like
Rachel.
to be fair, I don't think we ever dissed a Rachel either. Like
That's
or like all
I didn't
Rachels.
even I didn't even diss that Rachel. I'm
No,
sorry
we
she
just
got that
wanted
impression.
clarity
Yeah.
about what we may have said that would have been interpreted by her that way.
Mm-hmm.
That we don't like Austin Butler.
Yeah, we're upset. Yeah, actually,
And like
Rachel,
again, still the most shocking question we've ever gotten.
Rachel, if you haven't punched out and you actually are still watching, this is the original Rachel, OG Rachel. Please email us and let us know what we had said about Austin that made you think we didn't like it. It was probably something I said, I'd imagine. Joyce, this one's from Martin. Hi, guys. I was wondering if you knew whether the names of directors Wes Anderson or Hayao Miyazaki were written on the ballot of Oscar voters for the short film and animated feature categories. I feel like their recognizable name might sway voters at the last minute who are otherwise going to vote for a different film. I personally have both at number 2, so this might potentially change my prediction. I much preferred the Red, White, and Blue short over Henry Sugar personally, and since I have basic taste like you, Chris, I'm usually a good predictor for those. Thanks and keep up the good work, even in the off season. Take care.
I mean, well, now we both have that.
And I think Martin's right. And we did talk about the names are not on the ballot just for acting. So,
But I think people also know, like I think most people also know who made those
yeah,
films.
you don't need to
So
have that name on
it's
there.
not
But I
a
do think the most basic pick would be the red, white, and blue. And that's why I'm sticking with it. This one's from Afonso Joyce. Emailed us. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Hope you're both doing well. My question is about the overlap between SAG and Academy members. I heard the acting branch is the largest in the Academy, and therefore SAG is the best predictor in the acting categories. Thus, since SAG is such a large body, can we imply that the SAG winner was also the most voted among the SAG members that are also Academy members? For instance, I'm wondering if Lily was also the most voted among overlapping members, and the same applies to Emma at BAFTA. Please let me know what you think about this. Either way, it's going to be a tight race between those two. Thank you and keep up the
I mean,
good
this
work.
is just like what I said before.
It is. It's just funny, right? You don't know. We don't know.
We don't know, and we don't know how much ground Emma can make up. And yeah, because it's not yeah, because like SAG-AFTRA is so big because of the after part too. and they get to vote. So, and they're not in the Academy. So it's, uh, yeah, I mean, like in terms of just like matching wins, like SAG has a good correlation with Oscar and acting. Like so in actress, um it's only mismatched 8 times in 29 years.
Right.
So the last time was Viola Davis and Frances McDormand, which was a crazy race. And then before that was obviously Glenn Close and Olivia Colman.
Right.
So I think if you're going to make a comp like this year with is more like Glenn and Olivia. And then before that was Viola and Meryl. So Viola, SAG queen,
Mm-hmm.
but can't beat a person winning another Oscar.
But playing a real life person.
But not Frances though. No, no,
No, I know.
no.
Uh,
Yeah.
this one's from Evo, who's emailed us before. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Thank you for the great job this award season. First time writing about the Oscars. I have written about the Emmys, which, like Joyce, I prefer.
Oh, same Evo.
two questions about Two questions, one about animation and one about actress. In animation, I was able to predict proudly so the victories of The Boy and the Heron at both the Golden Globes and BAFTA. I was expecting Spidey to win at the Annies. What is bothering me is that many reporters explained its wins as, quote, dominating when that is not true. Spidey only won picture and directing. Nimona won the other two big awards, screenplay and voice acting, while Boy and the Heron won the prestigious storyboarding category for Miyazaki, who did it all by himself. And Western animation animators are nominated in this category, not the director. So everything says that Boy and the Heron or Nimona, the best one in the three, in my opinion, must win. But are Oscar voters disrespectful and dismissive enough for animation to vote on only half a movie that is a sequel for the win? And I'll read the second one first. We could take that first. Maybe I think they are,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. I think they've proven that. So
but pretty convincing there to make the case for Boy and the Heron. But see.
I mean, like Boy and the Heron has always been in it. I think you just have to pick one.
And then for Best Actress, the common thing between Olivia, Kate, Emma, and Glenn Close, Michelle Yeoh, and Lily Gladstone is not their race or that they have won before. It is the kind of performance and how it's seen. In the case of Olivia Colman, Kate Blanchett, and Emma Stone, all of them won the Volpe Cup for Best Actress in Venice. Well, in the case of Emma, Kaylee Spaney won, but only because Poor Things won the Golden Lion. Everyone knows this is why she could not use that win for anything, unlike the other three, or Penelope Cruz for Parallel Mothers, or Vanessa Kirby for Pieces of Woman, or Emma Stone herself again for La La Land. Difficult, well-respected, and prestigious performances. In the case of Glenn Close, Michelle Yeoh, and Lily Gladstone, their stronger argument is their narrative, and this is confirmed even by their fans. The overdue factor with Glenn Close, the career reward and making history win for Michelle Yeoh, and the history-making win for Lily. Usually the narrative falls short against the performance, but Michelle, like Jamie Lee Curtis, was helped by the strength of her movie. I think Emma will pull it off. If she does not, do you think that is because Sandra will pull votes from her? That's pretty cynical, even for me.
Um, but I do think like that is a pattern.
It is.
So I mean, you could do the same thing with Anthony Hopkins and Chadwick Boseman.
Yes,
So like they pick their favorite performance.
they did.
And
I guess the thing I'm banking on, which I'll never know, and I can't rely too closely on these ballots, is that I do get the sense that it's more than just the narrative for Lily. It's the performance. People really are they responded to that performance time and again. They respond to her as a person, they respond to the narrative, but the movie itself and the performance is something people really love.
I don't think like I think Michelle last year, I would say like I would think like the narrative was probably like last or like second to last or something.
Yes.
I think that was very much about the performance and also the stronger film.
Yes.
So I think she has more of that than Lily does. Like I think like Lily's is probably like equal distribution almost.
Yeah.
Um so and then obviously her movie is weaker than Everything Everywhere.
Yes. I guess I think the reason I've been swayed in the last couple of weeks back to Lily is because it seems like it's not it is a lot like it is more evenly balanced, but I think it's not like totally lopsided towards just the narrative. You know what I mean? Like I think people are responding to the performance more than I even expected.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean, like, we'll never know, and it's so hard to say, and even, like, some of these comments in these, like, 20 ballots we've had, and not even all 20 are voting for her,
Right. I know. I
you
know.
know? So, I mean, I think there was one that was just like, "I'm voting for her because, like, she" because they didn't like that, like, 2 hours of movie was just focused on Leo, like, they preferred her,
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, like, the movie should have been more about her
Yes.
and
Which
not
we agree with.
Leo,"
I think
and
that
that
is
was, like, the reason for them voting for her.
but
So, but yeah, I just don't think, like, I definitely think she has more, like, passion for her performance than Glenn did.
yes.
So, but I think she's still below Michelle.
I would agree with that. We have a lot of emails left. I'm just going to burn through a couple more here, though, because this is long, Joyce. This is like almost 2 hours. This one's from Dana. Hi, Joyce and Chris. I love the Oscars playback series. As I've been listening to them for a third time,
Wow, the 3rd time?
I reorganize boxes in my college special collection, and I hope you continue. We will probably, Joyce. I think for the 80s we're doing this summer.
Yeah, but only, 9 years because we already did
We did
89 2
89
years ago.
already. Yeah.
We already
As,
did Driving Miss Daisy. So
as
we're
for my
just gonna
question,
do Ordinary People to Rain Man.
uh, As for my question, everyone seems to be predicting The War is Over as the presumed winner for Best Animated Feature short, despite it being the worst one. And while I get why it will likely win, I also think 95 Senses has a shot, considering not only is it the best short film of the bunch, but I think the fact that Jared and Jerusha Hess directed it gives it some sort of brand recognition with the Academy voters, like War is Over. Thanks for your commentary. That's from Dana. Well, like you said, the names aren't on there, but I think people do know that they directed it.
Yeah, but you know whose names are on there? John and
John
Yoko.
Lennon and Yoko Ono. So I think that's going to help push it over the top, as we said. Um, this one, I'm just going to read this one. We don't need to talk about it because you actually mentioned it earlier, but it's from Carlos, who's a loyal listener. Hi, Joyce and Chris. I finally watched Naiad. I was reluctant to see it because I kept reading how bad it was. And to my surprise, it was totally good. Not a masterpiece, but entertaining. And I really liked the performances. I even think if I were a member of the Academy, I would vote for Jodie Foster. My question is why film Twitter hates the movie so much, and especially Annette's performance. Personally, I would have preferred a nomination for Greta Lee, but Annette is a legend who should already have an Oscar, and the Academy decided to nominate her, and I don't see anything wrong with that. Have a nice day.
Yeah, I guess it's a totally competent sports film.
Uh, this one's from
Yeah,
Steven. Nothing else to say. You already talked about it earlier, why they hate it. So
yeah,
we could scrub back. This one's from Steven, who emailed us, I think, over winter break about the Christmas Oscars.
mm,
Remember that?
yes.
He was upset, I think, with a couple of the picks. Hi, Joyce and Chris. I know I said I was boycotting emailing you guys over your Christmas Oscar movie picks, but I've decided to make exception this one time. Chris, you were supposed to read my email back in January, but I'm sure you're saving it for a Slugfest email Hall of Fame awards. I kid, but I'm still not over those Christmas Oscars. Steven, I didn't read it. I'm sorry. Never read that original one, but I know we talked about this. With all that said, I wanted to focus on production design, makeup, and hair and costumes. Last year, I jumped on the Elvis bandwagon because, unlike you guys, I like Austin Butler, winky emoji, LOL. I picked it for all three categories, and we all know how that turned out. We do, because I did the same thing, Stephen. I'm reluctant to pick Barbie because I get the same vibes as Elvis. I want to pick Poor Things for all three, but the last time a film swept those categories was Mad Max in 2015 and Grand Budapest the year before. I know the Critics' Choice Awards aren't the best awards to use as a guide, but they have the best record in production and costumes, which means then Barbie would be the right choice. I know you have talked repeatedly about this category, but like I said, the Critics' Choice is the only help I can find in two of these categories. I have notes upon notes on these three. As far as makeup, I think I will go with Maestro, seemingly consistent with the past wins. Thoughts? One last thing, best casting of the 90s Oscars goes to the cast of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. You're welcome. You are always a pleasure to listen to. Thank you for a wonderful season. I can't wait for your 2025 Oscar picks in a couple of weeks.
They're gonna be
That's
so
next
bad.
week it'll
That's
be.
next week.
I've already come up with a whole list, Joyce. I've
Of
been
course
like
you did. Of
researching.
course you did.
I've been doing a lot of research.
I'm not gonna think about that until Monday.
I'm fucking psyched for next year. It's gonna be a great year.
You
Or
do have
this
like
year.
Dune everywhere,
I
just
have
all
it
four
not everywhere. I almost had
acting
Austin in
categories.
there, but I actually don't. I think the best supportive performance is Javier Bardem, but I don't think any of them will get in. And Timmy should be a legit actor contender, but he won't be. We talked a lot about these categories, Joyce. I don't know. Is it possible Poor Things just loses everything?
I mean, it could, but I don't think it's an Elvis.
No.
So, and like, yeah, it didn't win Critics' Choice, but it won the industry awards, you know, BAFTA and the guilds.
Yeah.
So, and then I also don't think Barbie is Black Panther.
I don't think so either. And
So,
I think there was a bit of we talked like again, it's not all about narrative, but there was a historic nature to those Black Panther wins that Barbie cannot
mhm.
cop to. So I think that helps in a tight race. That kind of thing maybe does matter. And here it just is like picking your favorite, and we all think they like Poor Things more than Barbie.
Yeah. And yeah, like I said, I think Barbie could probably like it'll probably have an easier time winning costumes than production
Mhm.
design. And I think that's only because the guild put them in different categories, so they each got to win.
We have so many other emails, but I kind of want to some of these. If Matthew and maybe we'll read these like Sunday because some of these I think could hold.
But which ones can't hold?
Well, I got a few more here. This one's from Glenn. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Every year, Oscar voters tell on themselves through anonymous ballots. It's obvious that this isn't a true meritocracy and that people have wild opinions and strange biases. My question for you is this: how do you feel about the anonymous ballots, and how can anyone still take the Oscars seriously when you see how deeply unserious some of these voters are? And this links off to a next best picture anonymous ballot, Joyce, that they ran, where the lead was, "I did not bother to see Maestro."
That
Two
that
people I
angered a lot of film Twitter yesterday.
Two people I trust in the industry told me very strongly, don't waste your time. So I didn't. I,
I like this doesn't bother me. Like I know it bothers a lot of people. It's like, oh, you have the privilege of being a voter, so you should watch everything. But you know, like Glenn said, it's like it's not a meritocracy, and I think it's wrong to make the assumption that these people care as much about this as you might.
it it's almost impossible for it to be a meritocracy because everyone would have a different level of merit, right? Like, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like
This is all subjective.
it's hard to do a meritocracy when it's like, actually, I like this movie
You're
more
just picking
than
your favorite.
right. Like
So
I would have like, yeah, like it just doesn't. It's impossible. So then you're gonna go with like silly biases and all these different things.
yeah, so it doesn't like they're just like the anonymous ballots to me are just funny. It's like it's funny to see their thought process because some of them are actually good and
Yes,
some of them make no sense. Like there's no logic. And then some of them are just offensive. So
a great time of year.
yeah.
This one was from Shaban. Hi, Joyce and Chris. A lot of awards pundits are now finally predicting Cillian Murphy, but it's done with a begrudging tone, like they cannot believe this man is going to win an Oscar for this performance in Oppenheimer. I cannot figure out why people seemingly dislike this man who has been a steady and reliable performer for years. I know he's not your typical movie star, but he led Peaky Blinders, one of the true global TV success stories for nearly a decade. He's always been an exceptionally talented, and he's an incredible in Nolan's film. What the hell is wrong with everyone? That's from Shaban. We talked about this
Devon
a
Shiv
lot.
Roy? Shiv fucking Roy?
Fucking right. Big Killian fan.
Yeah, I mean we've talked about this like I feel like the past 2 weeks,
I,
basically.
I don't
Past
even,
3 weeks
I
maybe.
personally think a lot of the people who were slow to come around don't even dislike them or really care. I think they were embarrassed to not have seen it coming. And they're now coming up with like 1,000 different reasons why they did not see it coming. And it just feels like really try hard when it should just be like, oh, we didn't realize that this was the best movie and the best picture winner. And like, obviously he was going to win because we liked Paul Giamatti playing a curmudgeon more.
Yeah, like I don't think there is a conspiracy against
No,
Killian. I don't think anyone hates Killian. Like, how can you hate Killian Murphy?
no,
It's
people like
Tommy
him.
Shelby. Like, come on.
They just were slow
Yeah,
in
I
the
don't
uptake.
think it's anything like personal against him. I
No.
think, yes, I do think there is like that factor, like you said, of some people feel dumb for not having seen this coming from the beginning.
Yes.
And like again, like I've said before, I don't blame people for just not going all in on him yet, because people were bracing for Bradley in the fall, right? Like a lot of people thought like
Me.
this will be Bradley's
Yeah,
time,
I
and then
thought.
like Maestro hadn't screened yet, so
Yeah.
and a lot of people were predicting Bradley in the fall before Maestro dropped on Netflix. And like I get that, and I think like I've said multiple times already, like the only thing that bumped me was after the Globes when Killian won the Globe and beat Bradley, and Paul also won the Comedy Globe, and then it felt like people just shifted to Paul instead of to Killian.
Yes.
Like the shift should have been to Killian, or at least a more even split, right? But it really felt like a lot of people just wanted to back Paul, and like it could just, I think, you and I are not the biggest holdover fans. I think
No.
anyone who's listened to us know that. Like I don't hate it. I think it's fine. And I think
Fine.
Paul was good in it.
Totally fine.
But we know a lot of pundits and film Twitter people like the holdovers a lot. So I feel
Certainly.
like it's also kind of like trying to manifest that too, and then he won Critics' Choice, but it's like it's not an industry award,
Right.
and I do think like Killian's Hall right now, like he has the Globe and BAFTA and SAG, and he lost Critics' Choice. Like Emma Stone had this for La La Land, Rami Malek had this, uh Eddie Redmayne, and Jean Dujardin, right? And I do feel like in all those cases, like people came around to the fact that they were winning the Oscar sooner than they did, or now right now for Killian,
Yes.
right?
Yes. I think so.
Yeah, I think
I do.
that's the thing.
I do
And
think it's
Killian is
really.
actually going to be in the Best Picture winner. I mean, like just like Jean Dujardin, but like they came around through John like pretty quickly back then. I know it was a long time ago.
I really think it's a lot of people don't want to like. You don't like having egg on your face, so you don't want to like admit you're
Yeah,
wrong.
and I do think also, like I've said before, part of it is also like Killian is like not Hollywood.
Right.
Like he feels more of like an outsider than someone who like Paul Giamatti, who's like more established, right? And but then, like I've said, like everyone in this category is overdue in some way.
Uh, this one's from Kennedy. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Final Oscars predictions question. Which former winners do you think are going to present together?
So for like the acting categories,
Yes.
so they announced the final slate yesterday,
Yes.
and then I don't even know.
I'm pulling it up here.
Okay,
So
I'm like I don't have this in front of me right now.
we don't need to do like all the presenters, but we already know that they're going to do the presentations.
Yes, the tributes, the acting tributes. That'll take like 15 minutes.
So for Best Actress, here are the former Best Actress winners who are going to be there at the Oscars: Sally Field, Jessica Lange, Jennifer Lawrence, Charlize Theron, and Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah, so we said last week, because we had some of these last week, I think everyone thinks J-Law's doing Emma.
Yes.
And
Lily for Michelle.
I think people are saying that too, which is also again kind of reductive. Um, and then the others, uh, like Jessica could do Annette, and then I think I think Charlize will probably do Sandra,
Would make sense, right? I
and
guess.
then they'll leave Sally with Carrie.
I actually think Sally maybe would be fun for Annette. I don't even know, but
I don't know. I think like again, like I said last week, I think like people are conflating the first year of the second year, because the first year they did not pair them up by connections.
right.
The second year
They
they
did.
only did the lead categories, and it was like
Yes.
their friends, right? So I don't think they need to have a connection for this. Like it's just like these people said yes,
For
right?
Best Actor, there are 6 former Best Actor winners for 5. Presumably, Al Pacino will do Best Picture, I think. That would be my guess. So putting him aside, Nicolas Cage, Ben Kingsley, Brendan Fraser, Matthew McConaughey, and Forrest Whitaker.
Um, yeah. So I said last week that like Matthew will probably do Killian because of the
Mm-hmm.
Nolan thing. I don't know. Uh,
Cage
I
could do Giamatti.
He could, or if they do want to do like a light connection, like he could do Jeffrey because they were both nominated for playing writers for adaptation. Because
And you
that's
could have
kind of
like,
what they did with last time with Whoopi and Amy Adams because they both played nuns.
and you could have like Ben Kingsley do Bradley,
Yeah,
Forrest Whitaker for like,
I mean Brad or not Bradley. Ben could also do Killian
yep.
because he's like historical figures and
Yeah,
their
there's a
pictures
lot of
are gonna win
historical winners here, right?
best picture. And both of their films, it's just the protagonist's last name.
Right. Supporting actor was Mahershala Ali, Kei Kwan, Tim Robbins, Sam Rockwell, and Christoph Waltz. I feel like Waltz will do De Niro.
Same. And then
Rock,
I think Tim would do Mark because they were in what's that movie? Dark Waters, right?
yep. Rockwell for Downey.
Yeah. And then I guess Key for Ryan and Mahershala for Sterling.
Yeah. And then supporting actress, again, there are 6 past winners. Seemingly people think Lupita Nyong'o will be doing something else to give her Quiet
Lupita will
Place
probably just be promoting like
day
um
one.
yeah, because like they also have other people they're clearly promoting movies like Anya Taylor-Joy and Hemi
Yeah.
for Furiosa,
Cynthia
um,
Erivo and Ariana Grande,
for
presumably
Wicked.
maybe introing
Here's
a
the
new
new trailer.
trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like what Melissa
Melissa
and
McCarthy and Halle Bailey did
yeah,
last
for
year.
Little Mermaid. So
For best supporting actress, so then it's Jamie Lee Curtis, Regina King, Rita Moreno, Octavia Spencer, and Mary Steenburgen.
love the Mary poll.
Yeah,
We get to
that's
see
good.
Mary and Ted in
Yeah,
an award show again. Uh, well, like JLC for Jodie because they're besties.
right.
And I think you said last week that Rita, we called Rita, remember?
We did.
Said, got to get a legend in there, and Rita would do it. And you said Rita could do Danielle because musical. Although I know a lot of people are predicting her to do America. But again, I think that's like really reductive.
I think Regina would do Divine.
Maybe. I mean, I
But the
could see any
character
of them for like the rest. So
certainly could, but I'm like the characters are actually not dissimilar.
no, but then again, it's like you're just operating on a presumption that they're gonna try to find a connection.
True.
So like I would actually prefer it if like J Law did not do Emma. So then
Who's Mary Steenburgen going to do?
I don't know, like Emily.
Emily, maybe.
So
Uh, and then I got one. We're way over. This is like we're on like tumbleweeds time. So if you're still watching, God
no one's
bless.
here anymore.
Uh, we can give our real thoughts on other movies too. What you think of? No. This last one, Joyce, I think is just for you. It's
Just
from
for me.
kind of. It's from Rory. What are your thoughts on Netflix making a real push into more live events? The company has done a few at this point, but the SAG Awards had some real audio issues. I didn't watch the Netflix Slam, but was it any better? Also, Joyce, who should compete in the next one?
The audio for the Netflix Slam was much better. It did not sound like they were underwater. There was more than one mic in the room. It did kind of fluctuate with like the applause, at times, but it wasn't as bad as the SAG audio. I couldn't watch the whole thing because I had to leave at some point. So, but what I did watch was a much better production than the SAG Awards. And who should compete next time? Whoever they want to dole out like millions of dollars to. I think like what they did this time was good because it's like old gen, new gen with Rafa and Carlos. So they I mean they could just get also retired players too. Like they could just get Raj. Like Raj would be like a huge pull from it doesn't need to be active players. So
Okay.
yeah.
I think, like I said, we have a lot of other ones. Let me see. Anything I could see.
Anything timely.
I'm looking here.
That
Just
one also wasn't timely.
no, but I thought you would like that one. It was a little timely because
Because it was over the weekend. Yeah.
there's some Emmy stuff here. We could try to read these Sunday maybe after our show.
It'll segue into Emmy season for us.
This one is about directing. That it's like a more generic. I mean, not super timely. American Fiction winning. We already talked about. Yeah, I think that's it, Joyce. So if I didn't get your email, maybe we'll read it Sunday. We'll be back Sunday night in the wee hours of the morning. Hopefully not
Well,
another.
an hour earlier, presumably.
Hopefully,
I mean,
hopefully not.
these tributes will take up the hour. That's why they moved it earlier.
Hopefully not 2.5 hours of us talking about the Oscars. And then next week we'll be back with our 2025 Oscar picks, Joyce. And I have the results from 2024. And I gotta say, just a little teaser, we ruled. We did a great job.
I mean, I expect that I would do better this year than last year because last year, in March, or like 2 years ago, I guess in March, I had The Sun winning everything
It's true.
in like
Who
2022.
is the kid from The Sun?
What was it? Zane? What was it? It starts with a Z.
He was our ace in the hole. Zen McGrath.
Yeah, Zen. I was
Zen
like, it starts with a Z. Sorry to Zen.
Dominic Sessa ran after Zen McGrath walked slowly. Joyce will be back Sunday night. Can't wait. I'm so excited for the Oscars.
What are you gonna change between now and Sunday?
Just visual effects. I'm
That's it.
everything else I'm locked in on. Visual effects, I'm now convincing myself Guardians will win. I don't know why. I just think there's disinterest in creator. Maybe Godzilla no. So I don't know. How about you? Anything you change? Back to Emma?
I don't know. I mean, like, I can be convinced. You can get me to change stuff. Like, the past 2 years, my friends have just convinced me to change to be wrong with them. So I did do that. Like last year, my friend convinced me to change to Kate, and then I just did it. It was like we like knew it was gonna be wrong, but it was just like just get it wrong with me. So it was like fine. And then the year before, my friend wanted to stick with Power of the Dog because she did not want Coda winning. Like we knew Coda was winning. So then she was like, just get it wrong with me. It was like, fine. See, like I don't care. Like
We
I
don't
know
care.
what's gonna happen. I don't care.
We don't care. All right. We'll talk then, Joyce. It can take a while to upload this, but it'll be so worth it. Okay. Goodbye.